This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, Matt Delhauer returns to the show to celebrate 5 years of dissecting bad comic book movies with the 15th edition of What the Fuck Happened?
Geek Boner.
This time, it's the movie that killed the Superman franchise for almost 20 years. 1987, Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Floppy Jock.
All in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Thursday, September 17th, 2020.
You know who this is, and you know why you're here. You want all the latest comic book and superhero TV and movie news, and by God, you found it. Forget everything else out there. Forget all the Scientology bullshit. This is the real deal. This is the real deal. Worship at the feet of the holy trio of geekdom, the Jock and Nerd podcast. Play it.
Check. Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up. We jockin', we nerdin'. We funny, disturbing. We jockin', we nerdin'. We spoiler alert. Oh yeah. We jockin', we nerdin'. We funny, disturbing. Oh yeah. We jockin', we nerdin'. We spoiler alert.
Hello, what's up, listener? How's it going? Welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast, where we deliver comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose.
Jock and Nerd.
My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
And he's the Rug Boy. What's up, Rugs? Good earth to you.
Get her at you, motherfuckers.
How you doing? Also joining us is the one and only Ginger Geek himself. There is no other. It's Matt Delhauer. What's up, buddy?
What's up? What's up?
Have you copyrighted that Ginger Geek yet? Trademark, copyright? You got to put some kind of protection.
Yeah, no, I haven't. So if anyone wants to go stealing that, this is the time.
No, but we have it
Do it
documented.
now.
We have it documented. We're calling you that officially.
Oh, yeah.
Here. I'm excited for today's show, you guys. I think we all are going to have a great time celebrating What the Fuck Happened with Delhauer. I have a couple of announcements, though, before we begin. Anthony, how are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah?
How are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to check in.
Okay.
Just want to check in. Look, it's crazy. It's 2020. I got to check in on my peeps. If you
Are you still freaking out about movies being made about a pandemic?
Absolutely.
Is that still something you're
Absolutely.
super concerned
It's
about?
happening. South Park's making a pandemic, but I can't wait for that one. That's going to be great. Pandemic special from South Park.
South Park is not indicative of anything else in media. So
No, it isn't. So they, you got to expect them to do it. But yeah, no, I'm going to still freak out. I need a hobby. What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
You can't swing around that damn mace for much longer.
Oh, I'm almost done with the 6-week mace program. I bought a kettlebell. I'm moving on to the kettlebell program. Be swinging that around.
You've done the whole program.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. That's not the announcement that I'm exercising. That wasn't. The announcement is
I am now never exercising again.
dude, exercise is great. I love yoga. Who knew I
Shut
would?
the fuck up. You love
Fucking yoga is the best.
exercise is great.
That's
Who knew that an Indian dude would like yoga?
I'm Pakistani, you racist fuck.
Oh, shit.
Well, you're from India.
Well, all Pakistanis are from
Formerly
India. Yeah, but
So technically, I'm right.
all right, I'll take it back.
and technically is the best kind of right.
Technically is the best kind of right. No, the quick announcements I have to make is that, listener, if you listen to music using Amazon Music as your primary streaming music service on your device, they have just added podcasts. And guess what?
Jock and Nerd.
We are already on Amazon Music. So just another place. If you search Jock and Nerd Podcast on Amazon Music, or just type in jockandnerd.com/Amazon Music. I made a little linky link. It'll take you right to the show. And now maybe
Nothing like a linky link.
little linky link. You gotta love the linky
For a
link.
rinky dink.
For a rinky dink linky link. But you don't have to switch apps now if you're in. And I think Amazon Music is a big competitor to Spotify. I know a bunch of people, because don't you just
They're
get it?
trying. It's Spotify then Apple Music. Amazon Music has come trying to come
Don't
up.
you just get it if you're like a Prime subscriber, Amazon Music?
You're a Prime subscriber. Why are you asking
I am
us?
a Prime Rib subscriber.
What is Amazon Music? I
It's
don't know
their
what it is.
it's their music streaming service that's like Apple Music and Spotify. Like, you just pull up songs, make playlists, you can listen to whatever you want.
Is it an app or something?
It is a separate app. It's also part of the Amazon ecosystem, like Prime Video, but it is a separate app. But I've seen a lot of people use. Anyways, we're on there. So go. Jock and Nerd.
All right.
We're
I just want to
everywhere.
know how to get it. If people don't know, I don't know. I've never heard of this shit before.
Go to jockandnerd.com/Amazon Music. It'll answer all of your questions. And then the other quick thing is I have a new sound clip for the soundboard that's actually very fitting for this episode to introduce. And it is from the last time you were on Delhauer, that episode. But it is a sound clip from Anthony.
Oh, shit.
And it's this.
The fuck?
I think I will be pressing that a lot during this episode.
The fuck?
Oh, it's so good.
I'm surprised you didn't do a little doohickey to it.
You know what? I might have to add a little like.
That's something. Who found that for you?
I cut it when I was editing the show. I was like,
really?
oh my God, this is a clean the fuck. I need to just pull this right now.
I think Imran's going to put some compression and some reverb on
Yeah,
that
do something
shit.
about
All right,
Yeah.
I will dress it up with some echo,
Put on a little telephone effect.
telephone radio, and then it needs like a boing at the end, something, or maybe lasers. Lasers,
Like
are
something that acts like a confusion. Not funny.
See how that
Yeah,
has
like
a little
that-
embellishment.
that's great, yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'll
the
take.
embellishment, you need that.
Yeah, I think after he says the fuck, you need to have some kind of weird like wow 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 sound.
Okay,
Just
Done.
dubstep it.
Or like the air coming out of a balloon or
Yeah,
something.
that's
oh
good.
yeah, like a. Okay, I'll come up with something. Those are all good ideas, by the way. We have good raw.
Or a queen.
Listener, how about you come up with the idea of what we should add onto this clip?
What are the bells and whistles I need for the fuck clip?
And by we, I mean Imran.
Yes, I will do all the work. Anyways, let's get
Bless
to
your heart.
why we're here at Delhauer. We have made it to the 15th edition of What the Fuck Happened.
The Quinceañera edition.
It is
I-
the Quinceañera.
I'm wearing my dress.
Oh,
Yes.
I have a mariachi band waiting in the closet.
We've
for-
got 15 roses and dances
on
for you.
cue. Yes, and there is a chocolate fountain over at the sweets table.
I wanted cheese.
This is the wrong color, Mom. We're doing, you've seen the title, listener, Superman 4, Quest for Peace.
If you think I'm a monster now, just wait till next time for my sweet 16.
Is there like a big red-haired pinata that we can hit?
Oh my God, isn't that that was my nickname in high school?
Oh,
Big
shit.
red-haired pinata.
Yeah. There were people who run around whacking me with sticks. I never understood why. I grew up in a
That's
very
a stretch, Imran.
ethnic neighborhood. So, yeah. No, it's so happy 5-year anniversary from everyone. The first episode released. We're so close. September 18th, 2015.
Literally, tomorrow is the 5-year anniversary.
Oh, shit.
Of what the
Wow.
fuck happened. And for the listener, if you just go to jockandnerd.com/WTF Happened, you will see all 14 and our special retrospective episode. Delhauer, tell me again, how did we land on this movie?
We landed on this movie because we polled everyone to go ahead and send us their ideas of what the movie should be. I chose the movie my girlfriend picked because I'm biased and a
There
dick.
it is.
But also because Superman 4 tops a lot of lists online as being the worst superhero film of all time.
Yeah, let me just set you up with some quick facts here, guys. Movie came out in 1987. To compare, the original Superman, Christopher Reeve, comes out in 1978. Has a Rotten Tomato score of 94%. It had a budget of $55 million, and it made $300 million. And it's an amazing movie. It still is. 9 years later, 4 movies later, Superman 4, Rotten Tomato score 11%. The budget of $17 million. Ooh, and it makes $36 million in total.
That is dismal.
And I'm sure, Delhauer, you will get into it, but they were originally given a $40 million budget. You can explain later.
Oh, we
why
will
this
touch on all of these.
Only $17 million. This movie, starring, of course, Christopher Reeve, coming back for the 4th time. It is directed by Sidney J. Furie, who is best known for this and Iron Eagle with Lou Gossett Jr.
Iron Eagle's a much better film.
All the Iron Eagles, actually.
Yes, Iron Eagle and The Boys in Company B.
Oh, what's that one? I don't even know what that one is.
There was, I believe, a World War II war film that was about how war is hell.
War is hell. Yes, all the Iron Eagles. So that's what he does. Christopher Reeve returning as Superman. Gene Hackman returning for the 3rd time as Lex Luthor. He was absent in Superman 3, not in that movie. Jackie Cooper returning as Perry White, Mark McClure returning as Jimmy Olsen, John Cryer coming off his role as Ducky, Pretty in Pink playing Lenny, Luthor's nephew, Sam Wanamaker as David Warfield, and here we go, Mark Pillow, former Chippendales dancer.
Oh, shit.
In the role of Nuclear Man. And Muriel Hemingway playing Lacey Warfield, and Margot Kidder coming back as Lois Lane. And there's some other people that you don't really need to know
What's
about.
Lenny? What's Leonard? Is the full name?
No,
I think it's just Lenny. He's only been called Lenny the whole time.
Oh, okay.
it's just Lenny.
Is he in 2.5 Men?
He was in 2.5 Men.
He was in 2.5. He was
He's the less famous guy in 2.5 Men.
he was the one stable guy that stayed while they rotated out the other half.
No one cared about him.
I think the funniest thing I've seen that has to do with John Cryer, there's two of them that
He's
I think
Lex
are pretty
Luthor
funny.
now in Supergirl.
There's
Yes. Yep.
The other was somebody, I saw a meme going around that somebody put out a tweet about how, talking about Charlie Sheen when he had his whole meltdown and said something along the lines of like, oh yeah, 2.5 Men, wasn't that show that Charlie Sheen left and then it fell apart? And John Cryer's response was, you mean the show that went on for another 5 years after him and I won 2 Emmys for?
And actually, he took the role of Lex Luthor in Supergirl to make up for this fucking movie because he's a big Superman fan. And I didn't know what he was getting into.
Oh, it is. If you can find anything, if you find interviews where he talks about this movie, it is so fun because he rips this fucking movie apart.
Yes, he does. The most important credit, though, is the production company. This franchise is no longer produced by the Salkins, Ilya and Alexander Salkin, I think it was, did all the first 3 movies.
What about Sorkin?
Not the Sorkins. His movie's coming out on Netflix, the Chicago 7. Saw a trailer. Looks good.
Trial of the Chicago
7. But this movie was produced by Cannon Films, Warner Brothers, and Golan and Globus Productions. All
Cannon Films.
Cannon is
over the top.
Yes. We'll get into what they're responsible for a lot of things here.
Our second Cannon film from 1987.
What was
He-Man.
Masters of the Universe. Yeah, so we are familiar in what the fuck happened with Cannon Films. Before we get to Delhauer's masterful recap, Anthony, any memories of this movie? When did you see it? Like, did you see it initially when it came out? How old were you? Have you ever watched this?
I was not even born.
I was going to say, Anthony was born a year after this.
Oh, that's a good point.
I was born at the end of 87.
Yes.
So the days before 88.
So initial baby
So no
thoughts.
memories.
No?
This is the first time I've ever seen it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, you want to give us? You said you had a lot of thoughts. Any opening kind of thoughts?
I'll just say, when you go into a movie like this expecting the worst movie of all time, it can only go up from there.
Yes. Okay.
That's very true.
It's a good attitude to have. I rewatched this movie also, but I had seen it back in the day, and I just remember it being like a shitty fucking movie, and enjoyed it when I was a kid. Ruggs, have you seen this movie before?
Of course, you enjoyed it.
I've seen this movie way too many times.
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't seen it in a while, like maybe 10 years since before I watched it recently. But I remember I watched it a lot as a kid, and I would say the lines, and I would do all the Nuclear Man yelling and growls, and like he's the Hulk.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fucking ridiculous as a kid, and watching it now as a film critic, it's oh my god, it's amazing. It's a feast for critiquing. It really is. It gives you so much to chew on.
Oh yes, it does.
I really like the image I have in my head of Rug Boy just mouthing the words "Destroy Superman" and having Gene Hackman's voice over top of it.
Bring me the girl.
Freako.
And then
Stop! Don't do it. The people.
Fantastic dialogue. Delhauer, you just watched this movie for the first time.
Yes, yesterday when I watched
Wow.
it for the podcast, this was the first time I ever saw this movie.
That's great. I love it.
We're both popping our Superman 4 cherry.
Exactly.
For virgins. All right. So,
And I have to say, like Anthony said, I went into this movie with everything I've heard from people expecting the greatest garbage fire I've ever gone into, and I came out of it going, it could have been a lot worse.
definitely.
Oh, shit.
Jesus. Listener, before we begin, you can let us know what you think of Superman 4. Join our Facebook group. It's called the Jock and Nerd Nation. We're all in there. We hang out, chop it up. You get to meet other listeners. It's exclusive. It's closed. Gotta welcome new member and listener to the show, Mike Harris.
Jock and Nerd.
What's up, Mike? I welcomed him on the page, and he left this comment. He says, thanks. 15 years managing video stores and a sports fan means this is a group I'm looking forward to interacting in. Haven't listened to part 2 of the Best of 1999 episode, but Go was a favorite film of mine when I was younger, and Election is my favorite movie since 1999. Podcast is great, guys.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Wow.
Thanks, Mike.
It's nice to hear new feedback.
Right?
I was going to say, it's very genuine, very nice. For a second, the pause you put in that, I thought you were going to tell me that his comment was just, thanks.
And that's all he had. No, I can't. I mean, remember video stores? This guy's got a lot of film knowledge, so I'm glad to have Mike here. Thanks for listening.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Hell yeah.
All right, Delhauer. The curtain opens, the theater darkens. There is a logo of Warner Brothers, and for a second in the beginning of this movie, you get Geek Boner.
Geek Boner.
Because you hear the ba, 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 ba. You're like, oh, here we go. And then you immediately get
Floppy Jock.
when you see the shittiest flying credits I've ever seen in my life. Cue Delhauer.
Thank you. Speaking of video stores, this is absolutely, I feel, a movie to bring us into that video store feel, because this is one of those ones that you rented because no one else would touch it.
Were you embarrassed to rent this one? I feel like it was one of those you're like, I don't want anybody
I told you I've never seen it.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
I don't want anybody to see me rent this.
You're an absolute idiot.
I would imagine it would have been embarrassing.
So yes, after our opening company titles, we then get into 3 straight minutes of soaring credits over top of a stationary Earth in space.
Can I comment real quick?
Yes.
You do it now.
That was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
I go, this is an hour and a half movie, and we've just sat through 2 minutes of credits. Just
Well,
So many
that's-
credits.
If you watch Superman 1, it's the same thing.
Oh, it
But
absolutely
their credits
is.
are so much better done, and these look so cheesy in comparison.
I was
like
really
bottom dollar like graphics.
Yeah.
I was really hoping, because as it got to a point where I was like, we haven't even gotten out of the credits, and I'm already asking, how fucking long has this been? I was like, I want it to be 5 minutes, because that feels like a great cutoff.
Oh, shit.
I had the same thought. I was like, let's see how long. Could this be 10 minutes? Could we knock
long
out
can they
10 minutes of an
stretch
hour and a
this?
half movie in the credits?
So after our solid 3 minutes of credits, the first thing that we come across is a Russian satellite that is out in space, and a Russian astronaut, or cosmonaut, I should say, that is currently working on it while singing My Way by Frank Sinatra in Russian. Ultimately a song that is about how, at least when I die, I'll be happy to know that I did things the way I wanted to do them, which is really fitting because another satellite comes out of nowhere and crashes into their satellite and throws this guy off into space. Everyone's panicking, and the first thing I thought was, man, I know that this movie's notorious for having, like, bad special effects and being really, really cheaply made, but, like, they did a decent job with the zero-G effects for the guys inside this satellite station. But they're panicking, assuming that they're going to die, but they don't, because Superman shows up, and he stops them from spinning out of control in space, and he flies off, and he catches their friend, and he brings them back to the airlock that is open on the space station, but is not sucking anybody out of it.
Right.
And just lets him in, and tells them, "Do svidaniya," and heads off, because Superman, despite being about truth, justice, and the American way, speaks every language on Earth.
Yeah, is this a new power?
As he should.
Is this? He should.
I
He's
don't
Superman.
disagree at all. As a man who has the ability to stop anything like a speeding bullet or run as fast as a speeding locomotive, he also should speak absolutely every language, because it's not like we have a Russian Superman yet.
No.
So that's our opening. He just saved a bunch of Russians who were dying in space. They're not dying anymore. Good for you, Superman. He flies back to Smallville.
Don't we get the first of many times where he flies towards the camera?
Oh, yeah. No, his introduction in this movie is the flying directly at the camera shot.
Yeah, and take note of that shot. You will see it again.
The funny thing is, the thing that I wrote down is recycled green screen flying. Because I don't know if they filmed this for the movie or if this was a shot from a previous Superman movie they just
I think
put
it might
in
have been
it.
from the first one.
I think they did recycle some shit from the...
Or they didn't have enough money. They just shot it
the
once.
first thought I thought was, oh, like that makes sense that it looks this bad. It's made in 87. Wait, what's been made before?
Yes.
Oh my goodness! There's been Star Wars movies.
Yes.
It is so funny when you watch the movie and you're like, yeah, well, you know what, man? Effects were really shitty
That's
back
what I
in the
thought.
early 70s.
Yeah.
And then
You're
you're
like,
like,
wait a minute.
1987. You're like, fucking what?
Wait a minute. Wait, I wanted to mention one thing. Another thing I think is important is who wrote this movie, and the story by Lawrence Connor, Mark Rosenthal, and Christopher Reeve himself.
Oh, shit.
So just keep that in mind. He was very involved in the creative of this movie.
All right, don't worry. I'll just cross that out of my notes so I don't have to say it now.
Right, the writing is important. He's getting story credit.
Imran can't help but step all over everything.
I know. Even when it's someone
He's like
else's thing.
he's like the Godzilla of podcasts.
I just saved 2 minutes off the back end of this. Let's go.
Good. I can't wait till the moment when Imran gets tied up in the power lines. So he flies back down to Smallville, where he stops off at his parents' farm, and I'm going to assume his mom is dead because
They're both dead, right?
they're selling the farm.
Yeah.
Did the mom die in a previous movie?
No.
I don't recall. I didn't watch 3. I don't know.
Okay, so that means Ma Kent died off screen somewhere in between 1983 and 1987.
Well, she was kind of old, I remember. So possible.
But so he's planning on selling the farm. He has a conversation with the guy who's trying to sell it for him, and is letting him know that he won't sell to any sort of developer that's going to build a strip mall. He wants it to go to someone who's going to buy an actual farm for farming. Meanwhile, before the guy even shows up, he sneaks off to the barn because the ship that he crashed on Earth in as a baby is still buried under the barn and is still just active, full of kryptonite and krypton energy. Because, I mean, it's alien. What the fuck do I know? It probably runs forever. Until you pull the green crystal from Superman 2 out of it.
Yeah.
The crystal returns.
And the thing that I find funny is the exposition that it gives in this movie is once you use the crystal to regain your power, it will lose its power.
This doesn't make any sense already.
But he did that in Superman 2.
Yeah.
And now it has power still.
Well, I also thought what was funny in this is if he looks really hard, he can see it. But when he stops looking really hard, it disappears.
That's true.
It's so confusing because I don't know what's going on when I was watching this.
It's like, it wasn't there? Squints his eyes. Oh, there it is.
So he takes the crystal out of the ship and like pockets it. I would assume that if he's
Why is it green?
Is it kryptonite?
That's the thing. It's
That's
like
confusing, right?
It seems like it's kryptonite, so it should hurt him. But apparently, it's not. I was watching a video on YouTube where a guy was trying to explain this, and he was doing a poor job at doing so. Because everyone's like, "Well, it's kryptonite. Doesn't that hurt them?" And he's like, "Well, no. Kryptonite is like rocks and pieces of Krypton, but this is like one of the crystals of Krypton." And they're like, "How the fuck is that different? What is no?"
Well, I think the difference is, if you want me to just use bullshit science,
please do.
Sure.
Krypton exploded in a radioactive fucking explosion. The whole planet like exploded. So those things have radiation that would kill him.
Those will kill him.
Would you say it might have been a nuclear explosion?
It could be nuclear.
How do you say that word?
But I think that the crystals that he has are like they're not
mined.
They came on the ship with him.
I was going to say they'd be pure because they're not damaged by, I guess, the radiation of the explosion.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, that works.
Whatever.
Just don't make it green.
Yeah, just the fact that it's green and glowing.
And that's the thing. Like the Fortress of Solitude, it's all like Kryptonian crystal, but it's clear.
Yeah,
right.
It's like blue and white, not green.
So anyway, he has a quick game of catch with this guy while he tells him he wants to sell the farm to a farmer, and the guy is like, "You're insane, Kent," and leaves. And so then he knocks a baseball into space to remind us that he's Superman.
Did they really have to show the ball going into space?
Yes. The physics on that, the ball would explode if you hit it that hard.
It absolutely would have caught fire.
Wait till the space physics later. Yes.
It wouldn't even made. I mean, if you hit something that hard, the bat would have shattered, the ball would have exploded. And just to point out, not to.
And the shockwave that would have knocked the house down.
I'm gonna pull an Imran and step on Matt Delhauer's toes here.
Do it.
This plot line doesn't exist the rest of the movie.
No.
Oh yeah,
this is that's it.
Yeah.
the house was going to be sold to this developer.
Goes,
This
no.
is the setup.
And nope, and now it's done.
This is the setup for a storyline that got cut from the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what it
Yeah.
seems
One
like.
of several.
Meanwhile, Lex Luthor is still in prison ever since Superman 2. Apparently, the prison that he works at is just a rock quarry that they make all of them break rocks in, because I've never understood where the concept of breaking rocks in prison came from in media.
What do they do with the rocks? Why are they breaking them into little rocks?
I don't know. Is sell them to rock people?
Rock
Yeah,
farms?
that's how do you think you get your freaking
Your pet rock.
no, you're like your quarrying countertops and shit
For
like
mica.
that.
Yeah, actually, that is true.
So
There's
anyway,
some guys fucking, cutting rocks out.
Pounding
Then
rock.
Yeah.
just pounding that rock.
Pound that rock.
So while he's getting made fun of for whistling Mozart and not working and getting yelled at by the guards, the most ridiculously stupid looking car I've seen in my life comes pulling up.
Yes.
I can't tell you make or model, but I'll tell you it is definitely a mid-'80s sedan that is
It's a Cadillac.
also... it's a Cadillac?
Yeah.
Okay, good. It's a mid-'80s Cadillac that's also a convertible, bright white, with the name Lenny stenciled across the side of it. And gramophone speakers stuck to the doors facing in towards the car.
Taggy.
Why?
And this is where we meet Lenny Luthor, played by John Cryer, who is the worst.
You thought Ducky was annoying? Ducky's great.
He drives up, and apparently with these horns that are stuck on his car facing into the car, this is apparently the killer sound system that his car has, but that doesn't play to the fact that he's wearing headphones while he's driving.
I noticed that too.
And so he drives up, and the guards come over and are like, what are you doing here? What's going on? What's wrong with you? And he basically just makes this joke about like, oh, this isn't the city I'm supposed to be in. I didn't write down what city it was. It's not important. And they're like, oh, you sure are lost. You're on the other side of the state. So then they apparently fucking love this car. Like, are so impressed by it. And he tells them that they have to check out the sound system. So he gets out of the car, and the two guards get into the car, and they put on headphones that I guess are plugged into the dashboard or something.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're rocking out to whatever the music that they're listening to is. And Lenny backs away, and he takes his cassette player and opens it, and apparently it's a remote control. And he starts pressing buttons at the same time that we're then intercutting between this happening and Lex Luthor narrating what's going to happen without even looking at the event. So it's like Lenny opens the thing and he presses the button. He's like, close the doors. And then he presses another button. He's like, and the windows roll up. And then he presses another one, and the top of the car comes and goes, and the top. And then he presses a third or fourth button, whatever it is, and the car just drives itself off of a fucking cliff.
Launch.
And the guys don't die either.
No, that's I wrote a note that said, okay, so to establish that Lenny and Lex are evil, we're going to kill a couple of cops. And then the next note I wrote was, oh, not dead. That doesn't make sense.
They somehow
two
crawl out.
comments on
Yes,
that scene.
yes.
One, that car, so as it rides off the cliff, you can clearly tell it's a fucking Hot Wheels
Yeah, it's
because
a
the
miniature.
bottom of the car
Yes.
is painted straight black.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Number two, as you guys both pointed out, these guys have just been driven off a cliff that's probably like a 20-foot drop.
Yeah.
And they both climb up the cliff
In a matter of seconds.
in a matter of seconds, and they're like, "Ooh, what the hell just
Yeah,
happened?"
they climb up the cliff. They're covered in soot like they're from a fucking Looney Tunes
They're a
cartoon.
chimney sweep or something.
and
Yeah.
and that's when I was like, "Okay, now I'm watching a comedy."
Yeah.
I also love how you just see the car flying in the air, and it cuts back to Lex and Lenny, and then you don't see it hit. You just see smoke.
Oh yeah,
You
they
see
don't have
any
enough.
explosion.
They don't have enough money
No
to
money.
do an actual car
No.
crash explosion.
Yeah, they couldn't pull off a car stunt. That's why you watch the Hot Wheels get launched off of somebody's counter,
Yeah.
and then we
Probably.
cut away.
Yeah. It's great.
So yeah, that's the point where I'm going. Oh, comedy.
It's a cartoon.
Okay,
And
cool.
so this is Lenny breaking Lex out of prison. I don't remember how they actually leave. I don't know if it ever even showed it.
No, yeah, they don't even show it.
No, I don't
think.
remember it.
They just get in a car and go.
I think they see him get in the car, probably.
But back in Metropolis, now that Superman has returned, he and Lois Lane are on their way to work at the Daily Planet. And they're scrambling to try and get onto a subway car. Lois gets on the subway car, but Clark misses the door because he's clumsy and stupid. Everyone hates him. What a jackass.
What a jerk.
What a jackass.
So the trade rides off down the rails. The thing that I find really funny is we see a poster behind Clark in the subway tunnel that shows the Statue of Liberty and says, "Come visit the statue," and gives the New York address.
Amazing.
But there's also like that Smokey the Bear ad, and this is clearly not a New York subway.
And so the question I have to ask when I'm looking at this this scene shot in the London Underground, is Superman just bad luck for people? Because he gets to this train that Lois is on. Well, now here's the thing: Lois might be bad luck. It's one of the two of them.
One of them is.
But the conductor of this subway train just has a heart attack.
It's not very clear. He just either has a heart attack or poison or something going on where he just collapses.
Whatever happens,
He just clutches his chest and falls.
Yeah, he groans, he passes out, and he falls on the accelerator for the train.
What? You don't even see his face of the guy playing it. It's just like from behind.
Well, and like the point of this is like establish that Superman can save people, but we opened the movie with him saving people.
Well, and
now we have this random guy having a heart attack.
This is the thing that I love about this movie is that like the first 10 minutes, it seems like they're just going beat for beat. We need another moment of Superman being a hero, another moment of Superman being a hero. And it's because like they're trying to get on top of all of those great hero moments from the previous films, specifically the first one.
Yeah.
So Clark realizes, for whatever reason, the subway car is going way too fast.
Because Lois is yelling help in a subway train. Who the fuck is hear you, Lois?
It takes off. The train starts going faster and faster in the tunnel. And she starts yelling, "Help!"
Who can hear this?
And it's like, I don't know who you think is. Do you think that guy next to you on the train is going to fix this? So
how's that helping?
I can't specifically remember, but I almost feel like she yelled, "Help, Superman."
No, she just says help, and
she yells help. I picked it as he just is so in tune with her. Superhero.
So he goes running over and he steps into a phone booth and steps out as a Superman. And here's the thing. We don't even get like that classic bit of him like going into the phone booth and spinning around real fast and now he's in the costume. It's literally he steps in, the door closes, the door opens, and the red boot steps out onto the ground.
But it is the first and only time they've done the classic phone booth bit in any of these movies, in these four movies.
Yep. And so he flies down, because he can't, there's no way he flew down the tunnel. That tunnel's only big enough for the train.
Same shot again of him flying through the tunnel.
It's the same shot, and if you look at that shot closely, none of the people in that shot are looking at him as he flies towards the screen.
It's probably stock footage.
So he flies off to the next station where he can get in front of the train, gets on the tracks, steps on the third rail, totally eats up all that electrical energy because a fucking boss that he is. And just puts his hands out, stops the train, and it stops moving.
What?
No one's hurt. Nothing damaged.
What? Was this another power? What is this?
What? That he stops the train?
Well, it's super strength.
Yeah, come on.
Super strength. He didn't touch the train.
He gives like a nice speech about how it's still safe to take the subway.
He goes, our subway system is still the safest.
What I think is funny is it makes me think of the moment from Superman Returns when he gives the whole speech about how flying is still the safest mode of travel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's fucking clever. This isn't.
Yeah, he does it a lot in all the movies.
They really played up the cheese ball factor of him.
But so
being a dork.
Yeah, so he saves everyone on the train. Lois realizes it's Superman, starts yelling for him to look at her, and he doesn't, and he leaves. So they get to the Daily Planet, and lo and behold, it turns out that the Daily Planet has been bought out by another newspaper. They never say what the actual newspaper is, but it's apparently a newspaper owned by Mr. Warfield and his daughter, and it is some sort of sleazy tabloid rag, according to Perry White. And it turns out that they are now planning on trying to really build up the sales of the Daily Planet by turning it into a sleazy tabloid rag. And no one's happy about it, but also no one's doing anything about it. And this really isn't much of a story point. It's just like a reason to have another woman in Clark's life.
Yeah, it's just so you could have the dueling chicks.
Yeah, so then we bring in Lacey Warfield, who is the daughter of the now owner of the paper, who will later on become the publisher of the paper herself, who just has the fucking hots for Clark Kent.
Yeah, and
For some apparent reason.
for what reason? Yes, I did not.
I mean, and here's the thing. You know, Chris Reeve is an attractive man.
He's a handsome fella.
It's also, he is a fucking walking goofball. And
He's doing his best not to be attractive.
exactly. You know, he's hunched over. He's got the dumb glasses. He stutters. He's a, oh God, he's a,
By the way,
he's a
I just want to say this movie has got the biggest glasses of every
Yes.
The glasses get bigger every
they're
movie.
half of his goddamn head.
Perry White's glasses are huge.
Like
Lois
Coke
Lane's
bottle.
glasses are huge. Everyone's wearing huge glasses at some point in this movie.
I give them credit that they decided to go for the big glasses trend of the 80s and not like the really, really bad shoulder pads on everybody.
No, they didn't do that.
Lacey Warfield
Lacey's the
has
only one.
huge glass. She has huge glasses also, though, too.
Yes. But yeah, she's the only one who dresses like she's from the 80s. Everyone else still looks like it's like 1968.
Yeah.
That's why this movie's confused. I'm like, oh man, I can really forgive these graphics.
You're like,
Wait a minute.
wait,
She does.
What year was this movie? Damn it.
I will say Lacey Warfield has probably one of my favorite lines in this entire movie, where Lois basically tells her, like, well, you know, I could tell that you have the hots for Clark, but don't bother. He wouldn't be interested in you. And she responds with, all men like me. I'm very, very rich.
She does say
She
that.
has her
That's funny.
priorities. She's got her priorities.
Forgot about that.
So
Great
apparently,
dialogue.
Sounds like something Cardi B would say.
So apparently, according to the TV, there's a crisis
On Infinite Earths? No, that's
of nuclear weapons. I
it
guess.
is the 80s.
Everyone's got one.
And so,
Mm.
so apparently, like there was an attempt at peace talks, as far as I can piece together with this fucking movie, between America and, I'm going to go ahead and say, Russia.
Sure.
Or the USSR, I should say. That didn't go well. And the U.S. president makes a speech where he's basically saying, apparently peace is not on the table, so we are going to stockpile nuclear weapons because we ain't no bitches. And everybody's sitting around real sad. Everyone at Daily Planet, real sad about this. But you know who's the most sad? Is a random high school class.
No, I don't even think that's high school,
No,
dude.
it's
I
like
think
grade
that's like
school.
first. I think that's like third grade.
All right, I'm
random
going to go ahead
classroom.
and call it 6th grade at most.
Yes.
At most, it's sixth
That's like a
grade. I would
12-year-old.
argue
That's
second to third
So
grade.
Yeah, that's like a
that makes
12-year-old.
this point even better.
Yes.
Is that after they're sitting in class watching this on the TV in their class, the teacher turns it off, and then she basically just starts demanding that these kids in a 6th grade class come up with a solution to nuclear armaments.
Yeah, how are we going to fix this, kids?
Do something about
Oh,
this.
Who has an
it
kids.
gets-
idea?
it-
Anybody?
It gets fucking
Anybody?
better. It gets fucking better. Well, first off, you already have the teacher doing the worst. There's really bad voiceover on the teacher.
Oh, there's
And
terrible
get-
ADR all over this movie.
Yeah.
Get to the kid though. Oh my god.
So then she turns around to this one kid, just singles out this kid, Jeremy. And
Just staring long.
he's like
out the
staring
window.
out the window and not paying attention. She's
Yeah.
like, Jeremy,
What?
what solution do you have? And he just stands up from his desk and goes, I'd have Superman get rid of all of the nuclear weapons.
Oh shit.
really bad ADR.
Yes.
Not that kid
Yeah.
talking.
Well, or no, sorry. It was, she was saying like, well, here's some solutions. Maybe we can write to our, representatives. And I think he's like, fat lot of good, that'll do. If I was going to write a letter, I'd write a letter to Superman to get rid of all the nuclear weapons.
Oh my god, it's so fucking bad. It's so fucking bad.
You're like, what is
So
this?
then-
Who is this kid and why are we in
Why
this
is this
classroom?
random kid the plot the Kickstarter to this entire plot?
He is the inciting incident for one of the 5 plots that this movie has. Speaking of multiple
you know what?
plots,
It's not that far fetched because you can this is like today's media. You could have one little bullshit thing like that,
Yeah, a little bit.
and
yeah.
then they blow it up.
blows- yeah.
Oh,
and
well,
then
and
that's
trust me,
exactly what they do in this
they
movie.
do.
Yeah.
Speaking of multiple plots, though, Lenny and Lex have their own idea for a plot that they're scheming up. They are currently at the Metropolis Museum, where there is a Superman exhibit that consists of two things.
This is so great.
A 12-foot tall statue of Superman.
Yep.
And a single strand of Superman's hair.
Oh my God.
Donated to the museum.
It's his pubes.
It's his pube.
No, but you got to keep describing the way this scene plays out.
It is donated to the museum so that they could string up a 1,000 pound.
It's fucking written on there like this is Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
a 1,000 pound weight.
1,000 pounds on a giant
so
ball.
that they could show just how strong he is. That even a single strand of his hair can hold up 1,000 pounds.
Okay, so we've established this strand of hair is super strong, right?
Yes,
it can hold up 1,000 pounds. Okay, great.
Keep this in mind.
Yes.
Keep it right at the front of your mind.
Yes,
because after the tour group leaves,
yes,
Lenny and Lex come sneaking up to here. And Lenny's asking, "What are we doing, Uncle Lex?" And Lex explains, "Well, you see, this strand of Superman's hair has his genetic material. And if I could steal that, it means I could make my own Superman." And he breaks the glass for the display. The alarm goes off. And he uses a pair of bolt cutters to cut the strand of hair. And cut it off of the 1,000-pound weight.
Get the fuck out of here.
What is going on?
Yes, the one strand of hair that can hold 1,000 pounds up by itself is easily cut with just a bolt cutter.
Was there kryptonite on the tip of those bolt cutters?
No, there wasn't. They don't even go.
Fuck?
Not only they not go to any length to explain how that's possible. That's the end of the scene. You don't even see them leave.
No.
The alarm went off.
Yes, he smashed
they
the
pull the
glass.
strand of hair out, the alarm is going off, and we cut away.
And not even to mention that the 1,000-pound weight just like falls like 2 feet and then stops.
It bounces. It falls.
And there's like hardly any pound.
Yeah.
It's like
What?
this was
What?
how many
What?
pounds?
How did you cut this? What is happening in this movie?
This museum is bullshit.
This is some bullshit. That's a fake strand of hair. That's all.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
Yes, the strand of hair that was very obviously just tensile wire.
Yes.
Back at the Daily Planet, Lacey has decided she's going to try and seduce Clark by inviting him to her office and saying, we should do a column together where we investigate the nightlife of
She like
Metropolis.
awkwardly like splays out
Yeah,
on top of her desk.
She
Sexual
gets on
harassment.
top of the desk
Jesus.
and she fucking
She's Me Tooing
lays
him.
out like she's waiting to be drawn like one of his French girls.
She should have just spread her legs open.
I know. What do you sit on his
That was
desk?
like that's what was she was trying to. It was so
So then,
awkward.
while this exchange is happening, Lois Lane comes in and Clark bumbles around a bit because he's so clumsy and he's so awkward. Oh, hi Lois. And Lois says, "Oh, well, I just had a letter delivered to Superman, care of the Daily Planet. We should find a way to get it to him." At which point, Clark just takes the letter from her and rips it open and starts reading it. I don't know about you, but I'm fairly certain that unless everyone knows you're Superman, that's a federal crime.
Oh, shit.
Give away.
And in that letter and what he finds out is it's a letter from Jeremy, asking Superman to get rid of all the nuclear weapons in the world.
Oh, Jeremy.
He crumples it up and says, "Fuck that kid."
Fuck that kid.
At which point,
Fuck that show.
Mr. Warfield comes in, hears about this, and says, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to blow this the fuck up and turn it into a media sensation, and we're going to fly Jeremy out here, and we're going to put him on camera, and we're going to do all kinds of stuff where we're going to get him noticed." And he comes out and he meets with Warfield, and they put him in front of the press. And they said, go ahead, Jeremy. Tell them what you told me. Tell them what you said to me. And he just shouts into the microphones, "I just wish Superman had said yes."
What is he talking about?
And we immediately cut to a newspaper headline that says, "Superman says drop dead to kid."
Yeah. What? That's so great. That's the best headline ever.
So
When did he say this?
we went from Superman reading a letter that says, "Will you please get rid of nuclear weapons?" immediately to Superman tells a kid to fucking die.
The paper that Superman works for, no less.
Well, it says Warfield. Warfield Publications. It's the dude's sleazy tabloid.
And
Right.
not
It's a
only
tabloid
is
now.
it their own paper, but then once he reads it and he gets mad about it, every computer in the office suddenly just blinks on with the headline from the story on all of them.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it just got hacked.
Yeah, the black and white image. I was like, is this the internet in 87? What is going on here?
So, angry about the newspaper and uncertain as to what it is he should do, Superman flies up to the Fortress of Solitude and decides he's going to commune with the ghosts of the Council of Krypton.
Yeah, but they're poorly done.
And so it's ultimately just him being like, why shouldn't I get rid of nuclear weapons and help the planet? And they're like, no, you don't want to do that because you need to be an example instead of just solving all their problems for them. You should just leave Earth and go to another planet that's so much more advanced and doesn't even have war anymore. And then he's like, yes, because if you teach them to look to you for all your answers, you're teaching them simply to accept that they will be betrayed. Betrayed! 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 Then we go to the next scene.
Perfect.
So, with absolutely no answers from that entire sequence, which surprises me, because, I mean, they said betrayed like 7
They were
times.
useless.
I think you'd get it by now. Clark is sitting back at his apartment in Metropolis, just moping about the fact that nukes exist. And Lois shows up and says that he stood her up for some sort of press junket or something. I don't know what it was. Doesn't matter. But she's all dressed up and he's not. And so they're talking and he's telling her how he's not feeling great. And he's real sad about how nuclear war exists. And he's like, you know what, Lois, I need some fresh air. Will you go out with me to the balcony? And they go out to the balcony and he takes her hand and walks off the balcony with her, and she starts screaming because he has apparently just decided to commit suicide and take her with him until he disappears and reappears now as Superman and reveals, haha, I'm Superman. Let's go fly around America.
I think it's not only him. I think it's the world.
Well, he goes to like San Francisco.
I think it's New York and San Francisco, and then they come back.
There's some mountains too. I think. I don't know. It might have
Why
been
not?
Rockies.
I'm sure
But
there's some mountains.
I don't know if you were going to say this. I'm going to pull another Imran. Lois just all of a sudden learns how to fly because she's got her. The way he's holding her.
Well, he's transferring.
If he was taking her that way, she'd be dangling from his arm.
Sure.
But she is also flying.
I
with
will
him.
say they did do this in the first Superman movie where while he's flying with her, they get to a point where literally he's just holding her by the hand and she's out flat next to him and they're flying side by side.
Well, good thing that movie was 10 years ago.
Yes,
I think that if you're going to try and explain it with bullshit movie science.
Oh, here we go.
All right.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Static electricity.
No. If you're going fast enough, you're going to create lift.
Okay, so she's
All
like
right,
a
so
wing.
just like people who skydive, if they spread their arms, they can fly.
Yeah.
So if you're going fast enough, you can create lift with your arms. That's what I'll say.
All right, fair.
But
they went fast enough that they went all the way out to San
But
Francisco
her
and back
clothes
in
would
less
rip
than an
off
hour.
at this speed, I think.
Here's
her tits would be out.
The other side of that is that if they're flying fast enough that he's out in San Francisco in a matter of like 10 minutes, she'd just explode.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah, he hit it in Mach 5. Also, I love the moment where they're over the mountains and he just decides to drop her.
He just lets her
There you go. I'm gonna let you go and scare the shit
So
out
then
of you.
she's essentially falling gracefully.
Yes.
Yeah, she doesn't really drop per se.
And then he just grabs her again and brings her back. They get back to the balcony. He comments, how'd you like going solo? To which, if it was me, my response would be, "What the hell is wrong with you?
Never do that again."
You should have kicked him in the nuts.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You dick.
She would have broken her foot, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
At which point, it's revealed now, for anyone who doesn't understand, back in Superman 2, Lois Lane figured out that Superman and Clark Kent were the same person, and that was a major part of that entire story and plot, which led to a very emotional moment at the end of the movie where Superman / Clark decided that he was going to essentially take away Lois's memories about the fact that he's Superman because it puts her in danger, like in the fact that she got kidnapped by Zod.
Right.
So he has a magical power where he can kiss her and just erase her memory.
Magic kiss.
He does it again in this.
Yeah.
Where for some reason he decided for the next hour, I just want you to know that I'm Superman. But once we're done with that, I'm going to kiss you. I'm going to erase your memory, and then I'm going to get dressed up as Clark, and we're going to go to this press junket.
Like he just used her to make himself feel better, and then
Nah, it's pretty shitty.
and then erased her whole memory.
This whole entire flying sequence had no point.
No, nothing. There's nothing going on there. It's just to show that he can fly.
I was trying to figure out, is it they're flying around America, or they're flying around what we're supposed to think is Metropolis, but then
No, it's San
clearly says
Francisco.
San Francisco
And then there's
on the
mountains.
building.
It's around
They
the world.
leave what is very clearly Manhattan.
Yes.
And that's supposed to be Metropolis.
Yes.
They fly over mountains. They go to San Francisco. They come back to Manhattan, which is supposed to be Metropolis. Which I love the fact that at this point, they're not even pretending anymore. It's just we're calling it Metropolis, but we have the World Trade Center. We have the Statue of Liberty. Later on, we learned that Lex Luthor lives in the top floor of the fucking Empire State Building.
But then all the street scenes of Metropolis, curiously, there's no fucking tall buildings around any of them.
Nope. Not even one.
Not even
in
one.
In fact, they have one-floor buildings with, like, thatched roofs.
Yes. That's odd. Also, I love here where, she comes back after the kiss and she's like, what am I doing out here? I feel like I'm jet lagged. Lois, this happens so many times to Lois Lane. She must think she has fucking brain cancer.
This is straight up abuse.
It's total abuse. How many times has he done this to her, do you think, in the past that they haven't shown
I
us?
love the idea that we've established in the Chris Reeve movies that Superman has the power of gaslighting.
Yes, he does. Super
so
gaslighting.
they leave to go to whatever their date thing was. Yeah, I have the note. There's just he fucking mind wiped her again.
Yes.
What a douche. And right under it, I wrote "fuckboy Superman." Nice, brought that back.
That's about right.
My kind of guy.
Yeah.
So Superman, after flying around with Lois, has decided, you know what? I am gonna get rid of all the fucking nukes in the world. So he flies down and just happens to find this Jeremy kid, like a block away from the UN. And he flies down and he goes, hey, Jeremy, I'm Superman. Want to go for a walk with me? He says, okay. And then it's him and Superman and, like, everybody in New York. I'm sorry, I mean Metropolis. Just walking up to the UN and being allowed in. Apparently the UN is in session at this very moment.
Yeah.
And they're all allowed to, like, just pile into the viewing boxes that I guess are at the UN. And Superman does what we were hoping he would do in this entire movie. He makes a speech.
Yes, you always need the speech.
And he makes a speech about how, essentially, he no longer recognizes the authority of the world's governments, and he himself is now going to stop nuclear war forever. Essentially making himself a dictator.
Great.
This is probably what inspired Zack Snyder's plot for Superman.
Yeah, sounds like it. There's a fucking speech.
Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
So after he gives this speech, we then get a montage of various nations firing nuclear missiles into space while Superman collects them all into a giant net.
Shoot them all at once.
The fucking net. Oh my God.
Now, here's the thing that I love. What they don't specify is that it doesn't tell us that these people are helping him or working with him. I can't tell, are they firing missiles at people?
Yeah.
Are they testing their nuclear
I
weapons?
had the same thought.
Or are they working with Superman?
They must.
I thought to me it came off like these countries were like, fuck it, we're using these.
Yes.
Yeah, if Superman's coming down on us,
Let's
I'm going to
shoot
fucking
him.
nuke
Fire,
Russia.
yes, he's coming to get them. Fucking fire all of them at once.
So he collects what I'm going to go ahead and say is about
How many is that?
150 missiles
Okay, in a big net.
in a big net. You know
Fishing
what?
net.
Let's round it out. Let's say 200
Okay.
in a big old net.
Where does he get this net from?
Yeah, who made this
The Hammock District?
net? Yeah, you got to go to the hammock.
I feel like maybe the only net, maybe he got it from like a deep sea fishing or
It's
something
like a
like that.
Very well
Fishing net.
could be. But collects them all in this net in space, ties it off, and he hammer throws it into the sun.
Good form.
For if we want to explain with science,
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a very good idea.
Wouldn't that just implode the giant sun
I mean, the
itself?
sun is gigantic.
Yeah.
So keep it in mind. But I don't know if I'd launch all the nukes at the sun.
Solar
I
flares.
the solar flare would
The
be
solar
like,
flare alone would wipe everyone out.
Oh, well,
Radiation-
trust me.
we'd all be like burnt matchsticks.
This is the first of choices Superman made in this movie that would cause catastrophic problems
Yes.
for Earth as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing that I love is the little bit of research that I pulled in for this is so we're all probably in agreement anywhere from 200 to 300 missiles inside that giant net.
Sure.
At the time that this movie came out in 1987, the late 80s, it was estimated that across the world there were 60,000
Holy
different nuclear weapons.
Oh,
60,000.
That's not 60,000 fucking
Now, granted,
missiles.
it wouldn't be that it would all be 60,000 long-range missiles, but still,
That's a lot.
there's a lot that he's missing, which
how
means
much- yeah.
there's a lot of suitcase nukes
Yes.
that they just decided not to give Superman.
Maybe this was just like the last one that he did.
Oh,
And that's also
possible.
a possibility, is that he's thrown like 70
Yeah.
giant nets full of
Yeah.
missiles into the sun.
Yeah, maybe. Let's give the benefit of the doubt.
this is the last
Maybe
one.
this is the last. This is the
This is-
last.
This is the last one, I swear.
Yeah.
I also made a quick comment that in the scene where he's in the UN, the costume looks a little ill-fitting on him.
Does it?
Doesn't really matter. It's not important, but just I noticed, I was like, doesn't look that great on him right here.
That's all Reeve, though. He had muscles.
Oh yeah. Now we can get on with the Luthor plot because we saved the world from nuclear war. Lex decides he's going to proposition a whole bunch of black market arms dealers with the idea that if they help him get a nuclear weapon, a nuclear weapon,
Nuclear?
A nuclear.
a nuclear weapon,
Nuclear weapon. Yes.
Nuclear.
that he can get rid of Superman. And they're all asking him essentially like, well, what's in it for you? Why do you want to kill Superman? He's like, oh, I'm in it for the money. So his plan is that he's taking the hair that he stole from Superman and he is mixing it with his own DNA,
Uh-huh.
as well as a bit of fabric. It's spandex.
Yeah.
He's putting it into this tiny little computer box,
It's easy. It's an easy bake oven.
essentially.
With a light bulb.
Well, I love that they have the smoke coming out of the test vials with all the different color liquids.
the
like, as if-
bubbling green
Oh, yeah.
and
yeah,
red.
this
Yeah.
is straight. I mean, corn, cheese ball.
Oh,
effect,
yeah.
I mean,
or-
it
This
looks
is-
like. it looks like it's like a high school play.
I was-
It looks like
I was
Rocky
gonna
Horror
say,
Picture Show or something.
This is literally asking a high school drama club to go, okay, we need evil science lab.
right.
Make one.
So we've got beakers that are bubbling in the background with like dry ice in them. Now one of my favorite little exchanges is while he and Lenny are putting together this little package that's going to create a nuclear man. They put in the bit of DNA that's a mixture of Superman and Lex Luthor, but then also they're putting in the fabric. And Lenny makes a comment about, like, Uncle Lex, that's not going to be enough to cover him. And Lex makes a comment that the computer is going to essentially weave more fabric in order to match the society's modesty and ethics levels at this time.
What? The fuck does that even mean?
Essentially, he's saying the computer is going to dictate just how much of dick you're going to get to see
Yes,
from
exactly.
Nuclear Man.
Based on history and
It's the computer knows exactly how much cock coverage you need.
So they bundle up this little package, and then they are able to, with the arms dealers, get it stashed inside of a nuclear missile. And they sneak onto an army base that is testing this nuclear missile, despite the fact that, as far as we understand, Superman just destroyed all the nuclear
I thought
missiles.
he got rid of all the missiles.
So what this means is that might have been the first net.
First go around.
Oh, okay.
Because possibly.
They're still
Because
shooting
now they're
them all.
firing this missile, and Lex does a whole bunch of fucking Bugs Bunny shit to sneak on and pretend he's a 5-star general and launch the missile.
People just listen
And
to him.
here's the thing that confuses the hell out of me. They're going to launch this missile, and they're probably going to launch it straight upward into the sky to send up to Superman so he can grab it and throw it into the sun and get rid of it, which is exactly what Lex wants. But still, for some reason, he decides to fuck with them and fire it early so that it just flies over top of the bunker they're in. Because Why?
He just likes to show everybody he's a fucking jerk off.
Yeah, that makes sense. He is literally Snidely Whiplash in this whole fucking movie.
And I love the guy who's pressing the buttons he's just listening to anybody. Doesn't matter. Who's this guy? I don't know. Press the fire it. Okay.
Okay.
You're the
waiting
boss.
to do this for 3 years.
I just met you. I don't know if you're supposed to be here, but you're the boss.
Finally, I get to press that button. I've been looking at it.
42 minutes into this less than 90-minute movie.
Yay.
It's so short, too.
Superman throws this nuclear missile into the sun, and there's an explosion, and from that explosion comes a fetus
A fetus.
This is so
that
great.
grows into a full-grown man in a black and orange costume with a strikingly blonde mullet.
And a perfectly done logo on his shirt.
That's true.
Oh, did the computer weave this logo?
It seemed like the movie casted this guy and went, find Dolph Lundgren, but not Dolph
He's
Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren-ish. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, Mark
Except for his amazing manicure.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
What's with the nails? Constantly with these nuclear man's nails.
He's got Wolverine nails.
Why?
So after Nuclear Man
Nuclear.
has been born, we cut to a far more important moment as Clark is on a date with Lacey at a gym, and we get to have a whole lot of comedy there. Because he's out of time and rhythm with the aerobics, and apparently his back can't handle doing it, because you know how much you strain your lower back doing aerobics.
I just got to point out that Imran's contribution to that last 30 seconds was repeating the word you said and just going, comedy!
Listen,
Thank you.
I love Christopher Reeve does this so well. He's so good as Clark Kent. You have
He
so
is
much
fun.
fun
Oh, no,
watching him.
he is 100% the watchable part of this
He's
movie.
so great
Yeah,
in this.
he's the
in
best
that.
part of the movie.
Yeah.
But away from that, there's also one of the instructors there who just bullies Clark because he's a fucking nerd.
Nerd.
fucking nerd. Get out of my gym, you nerd. And so there's just no reason to this scene because the nerd bullies him and then they're going to leave. And so then Clark just throws a really fucking heavy barbell at him.
You could have killed him.
Good.
That guy was a dick.
What was the no pain, no gain?
No pain, no gain.
What was the line?
Oh, yeah, he says that.
Which they did this sort of in Superman 3 already, also.
And in 2.
In 2, yes.
So, as Nuclear Man comes to visit his daddy, the first thing that we notice is Lex Luthor hired a woman to dress up like Marie Antoinette and just dance with him.
What the shit is this? Why is he dancing with this random Victorian woman?
It's a choice, I guess. So he has her leave. Nuclear Man shows up. They have an exchange, essentially, where we reveal that Gene Hackman did all the ADR for Nuclear Man's lines. And there's this whole back and forth about, you know, I'm the one who created you. I'm your father. No, I'm your father. What? What's happening?
Doesn't make sense.
This daddy thing is getting weird. There's also a lot of really bad ADR for John Cryer in this scene.
Yes.
And for some reason, from this point in the movie until the rest of the movie, he decided to dial up the surfer dialect
I love
to
it.
like 11.
He's like, oh no. Oh, I'm breakdancing. Oh no.
Oh no!
It's so fun.
Let me down.
So bad. It's so funny.
Terrible.
And so we also learn the weakness of Nuclear Man is that
Oh
he
my God.
only operates while in direct sunlight.
Okay.
Get the fuck out of here.
Two comments
Yes.
on
Can
that.
we just pause here for a second?
This is where we now need to
This
break
is-
down a lot of things.
This is so
two
ridiculous.
comments on that right up.
Yes.
First, could you have just telegraphed any more clearly how this is going to end
Yes.
in terms of how Superman's going to beat this guy? Number two, this is the stupidest weakness ever. If some normal guy could just pull out a fucking
You
umbrella
could
and
be
kill this
defeated
motherfucker.
by an umbrella. This is what you created, Lex, you idiot.
And it's not even like the idea of, oh, well, he can only fight during the day because there is sunlight. He walks into just a shaded area
the
in
shadow.
the penthouse
So he
Shuts
and
down.
shuts down into a little Terminator pose.
has to be in direct sunlight.
That's
to
so
operate?
bad. It would have been better if he
What?
like hit a button and all of the
fuck?
shutters went down and
Yeah,
you
if
know.
he straight up blacked
Yes.
out the room,
Yeah, that'd have been great. That
would
would've
have
made
worked.
sense.
But it's literally just like he stepped out of the
It just
direct
makes him
sunlight
so
of the
weak.
window and just
Yeah.
passes out.
This is the worst weakness.
He just holds his hand up
what I
and
lo-
blocks the sun.
Yeah,
and
What I
then-
love about it is that Lex comments on it like he designed it
Yes.
to be this way.
He's proud of it.
He's like, oh yeah, because obviously if he's not in direct sunlight, he can't operate because therefore all I have to do is never be in direct sunlight and he can't kill me.
Also, he does mention like he gets his energy from the sun, but doesn't fucking Superman also get his fucking power?
Superman
from the
absolutely
yellow
gets
sun?
all of his
Yes.
power from the
Yeah.
yellow sun.
So how's he supposed to hurt him?
And you know what? He can still fly at night.
Yes.
Yeah.
He can.
Yeah.
He works in a shadow.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
It's ridiculous.
We now get to the scene that I think I hated the
Why
most
is
in
he
this whole movie.
Nuclear Man though?
Because of
Because
the
he was
really just
created through
Superman-
nuclear energy.
nuclear
Oh.
energy in the explosion in the missile.
And because we're trying to get rid of nuclear weapons, so we need our supervillain to represent that.
It's an anti-nuclear message.
No, I just thought it was a
Reeve
Superman
wanted it this
clone.
way.
Here's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Spoiler for towards the end. Anti-nuclear weapons, pro-nuclear power.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So, as I said, we now get to the part of this movie that I hate the fucking most.
Let's
And it
hear
is what I have dubbed double date shenanigans.
Oh, it's so bad.
Lacey has invited Clark to her hotel room or apartment. It's one of these.
Apartment. I'd say.
Because she and Lois are going to do an interview with Superman, and she thinks that Clark should be there so that way they can all interview Superman, but also specifically states that it's a double date. I don't know if Superman realizes that this is supposed to be a date, but there's also some really bad implications in the idea of inviting someone to a thing, believing it's one thing, to then, surprise, we're on a date now.
Oh boy.
So we get to have all this fun where Clark has to figure out how can he interact with these women as both himself and as Superman. And this involves him showing up as Clark and saying, oh, I got to pay the driver, but I don't have enough money. Can you give me money because you're rich? And she hands him her fucking, like, Amex card to go pay a taxi driver in 1987. And he runs away. And because he's gone, he then shows up on the balcony as Superman. And he's talking with them, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to have a great time. But then Lacey is worried about Clark because he's taking so long. And so she leaves to go find Clark. And Superman decides to distract Lois by using his super heat vision to fully cook the duck dinner they're going to have in the oven so that she'll panic and think it's burning and run away so he can fly back down to the street and pretend to be Clark.
Clever.
Whereas Clark, he's going to get into the elevator with Lacey, and then he gets hit with a luggage cart that I guess... this is why I think it's a hotel, because it's a lobby that's got like a fucking luggage cart.
Yeah.
And he gets pushed off.
And he gets pushed
swept
off
away.
out all the way away as she's going up in the elevator, and then he runs outside, and he climbs into a limo, and gets out of the limo as Superman, flies away.
Nobody saw anything.
Whose car is that?
Yeah, who's the limo?
It's just some
is
guy's
this?
limo. It's just waiting out
What
there.
if it wasn't open?
And I
Where's
love
his
to think
clothes?
I love to think that the driver of the limo is just sitting there looking in the mirror like, can I help you?
Does he have to go back there to get his clothes afterwards?
I'm assuming. Unless I also like to think that when he switches as to Superman, he puts all his Clark Kent clothes under his
Under
Superman
the
outfit.
Superman costume? Okay.
What's
I'll buy that.
what's for me? What this scene is trying to be funny,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
But it's just not funny. It's so painfully written that you're just like, everyone in here is a dumbass.
The funniest bit about this scene is when he goes running out the front door and he gets into the limo. This is supposed to be a big ritzy hotel in Midtown Manhattan,
Yes.
supposed to be Metropolis.
Yes.
Across the street from the hotel is a field.
Because it's London. I mean, it's the UK. It's not London. It's
Oh yeah, no, it's I'll have
Yeah.
the name written down somewhere,
It's a
but
small
it's a
town.
tiny fucking
Yes.
town outside of London.
Yes.
He gets upstairs as Superman. They have more chats, and then he's trying to do. I'm not going to go through all of his fucking back and forth.
What is? Nothing is accomplished.
No,
we don't even learn
nothing is
anything.
happening in this scene. But ultimately, the big thing that winds up happening is he starts hearing Lex's voice talking to him, and he looks out the window, and Lex takes over one of the TV screens in Times Square.
Sure.
And puts his face on it, but only Superman can hear him and I guess see him because it's his own private frequency. And he tells him, see that building over there? He said about fucking New York City.
About the Empire State Building.
He says, look to your left, I think.
Okay.
He knows not only that Superman is in town, but that if he looks to his left, he will notice the building that he is referring to.
And so he looks over at the Empire State Building.
Empire State Building. So he's apparently just to the left of the Empire State Building.
He's told there's a bomb on the top floor of that building. And it's going to blow up unless you go and stop it.
Eagle Eyes will notice the first time they show the billboard, there's a 7-Eleven billboard underneath Lex, and it cuts back to him, and it cuts back to Lex, and it's a different fucking billboard.
Oh, shit.
Underneath him.
Well, it's Times Square. It was videos.
No, this was not a video billboard.
Oh, yeah, whatever. Well, do you know what that is?
Yes.
That's double the product placement, baby.
Yes, it is.
So he then runs out and he doesn't even actually run out. Like he disappears into the kitchen as Clark and then never comes back out.
As Clark,
but instead shows up as Superman on the balcony. Is like, oh, hi, Lois. Just wanted to let you know that there's an emergency and I have to go. Goodbye. He flies away. And then they never question where the fuck Clark went.
They're like, where's Clark? Wait, where's Clark?
And he flies over to the building, the Empire State Building, to the penthouse that Lex and Lenny live in at the top of this building.
Of Mice and Men?
Yes.
I love him and pet him.
It'd be better if it was Lenny from Of Mice and Men.
It's the gaudiest penthouse ever, too.
And
Jesus
basically,
Christ.
Lex is giving this whole weird speech about just like telling Superman he should retire. He's like, oh, you always work too much. You should stop and smell the flowers, like, have some kids, pet a puppy. And my second favorite line in this entire movie is Superman telling Lex Luthor, it is common knowledge that you hate children and animals.
That is great.
That's great. That's really good.
So we have the final meeting of Superman and Nuclear Man 1 hour into the film.
They finally meet.
First meeting, you
Yeah,
mean?
the first meeting.
Yes, well, sorry. I meant they finally meet.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
What I also love is he shows up and like we're supposed to be impressed by the fact that as he's walking across the balcony, he's leaving like molten fucking footprints.
Yes, perfect footprints.
But only this one time? He's never done this before and it'll never happen again.
Also, as he lands, every time you see him land off the harness, the keying around his hair and his body is it's shifting.
Oh no, they can't.
It's so
they cannot get rid of the blue screen around him.
No, because he's got fucking mullet hair. He can't
It was the same problem they had with Margot Kidder.
Yeah.
Her hair is so big that they can't key all the blue out of it.
Yeah, you don't have enough money for that.
They also only had 1 month to do VFX. We'll touch on that.
Yeah.
So they finally are going to fight. Oh, except Lex has to monologue a little bit more. So when Nuclear Man shows up and the only line he gives is "Destroy Superman," he tells him, "Yeah, not yet." It goes on. And then finally we get to the point where he basically tells Superman, like, all right, well, time to die now. Have a good one. And he and Lenny leave. And so Superman and Nuclear Man start fighting. And the way they fight is they grapple and
I was
immediately...
going to say fighting is a loose term for what they're doing.
Oh, I know. They immediately grapple and instantly fall through the balcony railing off the building.
And they slowly fall. Everyone falls really slowly in this movie.
They're both just like,
I mean, it is very reminiscent of like a kaiju fight in an early Toho film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it would make more sense in an early Toho film because those guys couldn't see.
Yeah. So they go tumbling off the building.
300 pounds of rubber.
Yeah.
Right.
They go tumbling off the building, like struggling with each other as they fall, and then they go flying up into the air and into space. And then he starts chasing after Nuclear Man, who's decided that instead of fighting Superman, he's just going to cause wanton destruction across the world and make Superman have to clean it up.
Yes.
So they fly to the Great Wall of China.
Superman.
Yeah.
Let's destroy everything else instead.
They fly to the Great Wall of China, where Nuclear Man just starts blowing holes into like parts of it. And here's one of my favorite things about this scene: everyone on the Great Wall of China, white.
Yes.
You know what? I
was like, I thought it was the Great Wall, and I went, wait, there's all these white people. What are they trying to say?
Those are all English extras, but I was like, oh, busy day on the Great Wall today. There must have been a tour. Why are all these
No, but I was like,
people
busy
fucking
day
there?
on the Great
Jesus.
Wall. Wait a minute, is that the Great Wall?
It's one of those
What
things
is
from,
this?
I'm like, they never established where the fuck you are ever in this movie. So the fact that it's the Great Wall, but it's also nothing but white people, I'm like, is this like...
It's the
Is this
Great Wall of
something I don't
Scotland.
know about? Yeah, it's the Great Wall of Scotland.
Chinese people don't go to the Great Wall. They know it's there. It's like, if you lived in New York, you're not going to the Statue of Liberty. You live there. This is a tourist thing. That's why it's just white people.
Why wouldn't you go to the Statue of Liberty and sell bootleg T-shirts?
Well, I guess you could do that. There should be Great Wall t-shirts.
Yeah. I saw the Great Wall from space, but not really. Anyway, so they blow some holes into the Great Wall of China, and then Nuclear Man flies away, and Superman has to fix it. So he does so using Minecraft vision.
What?
Yeah, when was this established?
He literally lands next to the Great Wall, and he looks at it, and this weird little blue beam shoots from his eyes, and the Great Wall just rebuilds itself.
Repair a vision? What is this power? When did he get this power?
Yeah.
Well, he learned it by playing with lots of Legos when he was a kid.
He's like, I will reverse time. Not really.
He's
Just
like,
fucking
I can
make
do the Star Wars Death Star in like 5 minutes.
And it's
You think this is bad? Try knocking over a log cabin. I'll rebuild that shit.
This is going great.
I love it. It's just reverse time lapse of bricks appearing out of nowhere. It's amazing.
I love it.
Oh,
I fucking love it.
It's like, no, the people that wrote this never read a Superman comic, or were just so goddamn lazy, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's just make really shitty things happen here.
They had to solve a problem, and that's
we
how they
need him
solved
to do something.
Yeah.
We need to fix this problem that we wrote into the plot.
Yes. But also it can't
So
cost...
we will fix it within. We have 20 seconds.
And we can't
fuck.
really afford
I wrote,
to throw
I
any
wrote
money
into
at
the
it.
script that the Great Wall got destroyed. Well, what's wrong?
Would
How
it
the
be-
fuck do you fix that?
They should have just done a time lapse of Superman sped up.
No, that
actually
was
fixing.
too much money. We need something that'll cost
that's actually-
$50.
Yeah, a little look into the future.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was supposed to be, and they didn't have the time or the money to do it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So him very quickly rebuilding the wall by brick turned into him looking at it and it fixing itself.
So one of the writers was like, well, what if he just looks at it and the bricks just show up? Yeah, wonderful, print it.
Why does it cost more to do it that way?
I don't
We
know.
I don't know.
All they did was reverse the film of the bricks. That's cheap.
But so from China, they decided to head off into Italy, where Nuclear Man pencil dives into a volcano and just makes it erupt.
In hot magma.
But wait a minute. Wouldn't he, once he went into the volcano, he's in a shadow, there's no sunlight, wouldn't he have just depowered instantly?
Come on,
Shut
Imran,
up,
stop
Imran.
thinking.
Stop using your brain,
Shit.
Sorry.
This is not the place for your brain. Imran.
The fuck do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
There you go.
So Superman then has to figure out how is he going to stop this problem. So what he decides to do is he flies off to a nearby mountain and he shears off the top of it and he turns it upside down and he corks the fucking volcano
Because that'll work.
Yes.
because, there's no such thing as pressure,
Right, the pressure
inside of a volcano.
Don't worry about the pressure building up.
And it's just, you can clearly tell these are just little toy
Yes.
miniatures
Oh,
that
yeah.
he's tossing around.
And that's the thing that I love is when they then show like the weird random like Italian village that's being destroyed by lava. You can see just how much of it is like a toy town that they set off firecrackers inside of.
Oh yeah, I know. And the lava flowing through it reminded me of the movie Rodan, which was made in the 1950s.
Oh yeah, no, this scene itself is when I was like, oh yeah, it's because they're trying to capture the whole thing from essentially the first movie where the destruction of Krypton was straight up just a disaster movie from the 50s.
Yeah.
So this is what they decided to do is they were going to build a whole scene that was just a disaster film moment. And then Superman flies down into the village and he guards the 5 people that live in it. and just keeps using his ice breath to turn the hot liquid magma into still probably very hot solid rock.
And it's so close to them, I would have fucking burned the shit
they
right
all
out
died.
of them. They would have all been dead.
It's the same problem with like what was it? Jurassic World 2 when fucking Chris Pratt's rolling sideways away from lava. You'd already be dead.
You forgot to mention right before this, Nuclear Man in space freezes him in a shitty crystal box.
Oh fuck! Was that before this?
Yeah, it's before the volcano.
I wrote that in after the volcano.
Well, their entire tangle here is so unmemorable that I actually forgot about
it. Doesn't matter
what
the
order.
Proper
fucking order doesn't even matter.
Right. None of it makes sense.
Because then they also, I think, they fight in space again after this, and this is when he finally reveals that his fingernails get longer.
Oh no! Look out!
Snickety snick.
Exactly.
I'm Wolverine, bitch.
But don't worry, they don't come into play yet. They just get longer. Because then he decides, all right, I'm done toying with you again. I'm going to fly down to Metropolis, New York, and I'm going to pick up the Statue of Liberty. And I'm going to fly it over Manhattan. I'm just going to drop it.
This looks like
over Metropolis.
A scene.
This sequence is so terribly
This looks like a scene from a Monty Python fucking movie.
Oh shit!
What I love is that they only built the hand that's holding the plaque out of foam.
It is the most ridiculous, oversized prop you'll ever see.
And so that's what they show him carrying it by when they do the close-up shot of him flying with it. And then when Superman saves it, he just decides to grab it from the exact same spot.
Fly back the other way. It is so ridiculous.
And it's all it is Nuclear Man picks it up, brings it to the middle of the city, lets go. Superman flies in, grabs it, flies it back, and is going to put it back exactly where it was.
And if you watch carefully, Ellis Island, wherever he puts the base on, it's shaking the whole time. It's wobbling the whole time in the background.
So while he's flying it back, Nuclear Man comes flying up and decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scratch your neck with my nails.
Oh, shit.
The fuck?
And so he does, and it leaves like cartoon scratch marks that glow on his skin.
It's like red.
Nuclear.
You can clearly tell there's the CGI of the time, I guess, glowing on his neck.
Nuclear marks.
The note I have written is, scratched his neck. Ooh, that smarts.
He scratched me.
And this is what takes down the most powerful hero we've established in cinema.
He puts the Statue of Liberty back even after he's been scratched. He puts it back perfectly fine. It's now exactly where it was. But then we just immediately cut to a shot of his cape wafting in the wind, falling on top of the torch of the Statue of Liberty.
Which makes no fucking sense because he was never that high.
He was never that high, but also, like, why did his cape come off?
The scratch, man.
It's where did you go and why do you not have it now? So Lois Lane quits her job because she's tired of this paper and all of its bullshit because they printed a headline that's Superman dead? ? You know why? Because, his cape was found and sold to the paper
of course.
For a tidy sum. They assume he's dead because no one's seen him for, I don't know, an hour? How fucking, what day is it?
We have no concept of how much time has now passed.
So meanwhile, like, Nuclear Man's like just loose, right?
Yeah.
No one stopped him.
Here's the thing. And what I love about it is that Nuclear Man, as he has told us, his whole entire job is to destroy Superman. And instead what he did was he scratched him in the neck and then fucked off.
He's like, I'm done for today.
That's enough for me.
I scratched him.
5 o'clock, gotta punch out.
Yeah.
So Lois then goes to visit Clark, and he's in his apartment having the worst flu of his life from this neck scratch. And they have this whole speech that Lois gives where it's very obvious that she's just telling Clark what she wants to tell Superman, because I guess she knows he's Superman again, but we've established that he wiped her memory, but like this whole entire scene is just full of, look, asshole, I know you're Superman. And so she gives him the cape and is like, well, if you ever see him, he's probably going to need this. And that's the end of that scene. That's all that happened there. But Lex is swimming in the fucking money already from these arms dealers somehow, because I don't know how they were making money by building a nuclear man.
Yeah, what are they paying him for?
So I guess they paid him because Nuclear Man got rid of Superman.
And now everybody can make money again.
And yeah, now they can all go to war.
Sure.
But anyway, so he then decides to use Nuclear Man as a threat against them and says, essentially he's taking all of their money and he's letting them live, which is stupid. Because the more people that you fuck over for like billions of dollars and let live, the more people are going to try to kill you.
But he's got Nuclear Man.
He's got Nuclear Man.
That's
Nuclear
true.
Man.
He so does. And that's the end of that scene again. It's like a thing happens and then it's over.
Yeah.
Like the next scene when Clark Kent's turning into Gollum.
What the
He's a
fuck?
1,000 years
What
old.
is happening here? Why?
He's losing his hair. It's all
white.
gray. And the only thing that's lighting this entire scene is the fucking kryptonite shard
What?
that he stole from his own ship.
When did this happen?
And he's like standing, he's like dying and gasping for air, and he's looking at it, and we're getting exposition from his dead mom's voice about using the crystal to get his power back.
And then all the power of Krypton will be gone forever.
You know what he does?
And then
he uses the crystal.
So what he does is cut to the next scene without establishing what he did.
Yeah.
Nuclear Man, I'm assuming in Lex's penthouse.
Wait, well, before you get to this, because
Okay.
it's great. He is on the brink of, he gets scratched, is on the brink of death, and recovers. I think this happens maybe within 3 minutes,
day?
4
Is it
minutes.
still the
Of the
same
entire-
time?
No, I'm
of the movie.
talking about
The whole thing.
within the length of the movie.
Yes,
This is already, we're already in the back half of the movie.
Yeah.
Because they met at an hour out of the 90-minute movie. So yes, he is scratched, presumed dead,
Presumed dead, and then
goes through this weird like food poisoning bout that makes him lose his hair, and then he's better within in a matter of, I would say, about 3 minutes of film time.
It's just 3 scenes, real quick. Boom, boom, boom.
Cool.
Got it.
So
And now we're on to the next plot.
Yes.
yes, so now we get to another plot as
Yes.
we have 10 minutes left in this movie.
Yeah, they're starting a new plot here.
Yeah, this is. I literally looked at the clock
Like, what
and
are you
went,
doing?
"How much time is left in this movie?"
Why
So-
are you doing
doing
this?
here?
So Nuclear Man hits puberty because he sees the newspaper article saying that Lacey Warfield is now the publisher of the Daily Planet, and decides, I'm gonna kidnap that bitch.
He
Oh,
was.
as Nuclear Man gets his puberty.
Yes.
I mean, this is if there's this is implied that he's just going to rape this girl.
Oh, yeah.
What else is he
Oh,
going to
yeah.
do with this woman?
Yeah, he
Is he what is he doing?
No, he
now?
doesn't.
So-
does he even? How does he know what to do? He was just bored.
Well, he's a bad guy. That's what they do.
Right. He's bad.
It's true.
Yeah.
Bad guys do that.
Yeah.
So he flies to the building she's in, I guess.
Right. He just knows.
And is stopped by Superman, who's standing in front of the front door because he knows exactly what's happening right now.
Everyone is already 50 pages into the script.
Because
now.
Nuclear Man lands in front of Superman and just goes, "Where's the girl?"
Yeah.
Yes.
And Superman
Great
tells
line.
him, "Somewhere you'll never find her." And it's like, oh, what? What are you guys talking about?
He's just
Lying.
upstairs.
What is happening here?
Yeah.
She's exactly where you're going to find her, in the building.
So, Nuclear Man decides, well, if I don't get her, I'll kill people, and then proceeds to just cause property damage.
I will hurt people. That's my favorite
And,
line.
and this is where the line goes from Clark Kent, which is some of the worst delivery ever from Christopher Reeves. Stop! Don't do it!
Yeah.
The people!
The people.
The people!
Won't someone think of the people?
So, Nuclear Man goes on a tantrum where he's setting fires and blowing up hydrants and crushing cars and making people levitate outside of the SWAT van that's coming to attack him so that they float above the one-story building in the middle of Manhattan.
Which he also makes spin for some reason on
He
its
makes them
end.
spin, at which point Superman then uses his
Oh,
telekinesis
another new power.
to make
power
them
alert.
stop doing that.
What is this? He just looks at them and then they go back down. What the,
The
fuck?
fuck?
What is happening?
So, they then decide they're going to get. Decides, all right, you know what? You've done enough property damage, and you've got a lot of people dizzy. I'll let you have the
You
girl.
spun everyone around.
People are going to barf.
Yeah.
They go inside the building, and Superman rides up in the elevator.
Why is he getting in the elevator?
While Nuclear Man decides, fuck that noise, and just flies up through the floors of the building, crashing through the same office 5 times.
You can literally see the rope tied to his hands that's pulling them up.
You see harnesses all over the place in this movie.
And so they finally get to the floor that they assume, I guess, her hotel room is in or whatever. And Superman tricks Nuclear Man by knocking him into the elevator and punching the door so it closes faster.
Wait a minute. I thought he was in front of the building where she was. They go up into Lex's penthouse. What fucking building? Where is she?
Well, no, they're in like the hotel that she's staying in.
Yeah, but they go straight up and they're in Lex's penthouse.
Oh, I don't know. Whatever. Fuck it. Who cares? We got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So he punches the button, gets him trapped in the elevator, and because he's not in direct sunlight, he shuts down.
Pew.
And Superman then flies up to the roof, punches through the roof, and grabs the cables for the elevator and pulls it out of the top of the building, destroying this building in the process and probably killing people inside.
Absolutely.
It's for the greater good.
He flies up to the moon and drops the elevator on it. And that's it. Just leaves it there. Decides his job's done.
I was yelling at the movie. I was like, you better bury that fucking elevator. What are you doing?
The funny thing is I wrote, and leaves it on the dark side of the moon. Hey, that's clever. And then I realized it's not the dark side of the moon. Hey, that's dumb.
What an idiot.
So Nuclear Man breaks out of the elevator, and we get a moon fight as they get into a fight at the site of the first ever lunar landing.
Where he fixes the flag.
And not yet he doesn't.
Oh.
Because first they have to have their slow motion ballet fight. Where they muffled the audio because, well, it'd be hard to hear it in space.
The moon.
You can definitely tell, by the way, that this moon is curtains in the background.
Oh, yeah, you can see black curtains.
And everybody's hair is moving like there's a wind source somewhere.
So they have the fight. Superman, thinking he beat Nuclear Man, readjust the American flag because it looks good standing upright until Nuclear Man attacks him again and railroad spikes him into the surface of the moon.
Just playing Bop It.
Great.
And then he flies off to Earth again and he goes to the Daily Planet and he kidnaps Lacey. And he flies with Lacey up into space. While Superman, after re-emerging from the surface of the moon, decides, I need to stop him, and the way I'll do that is by pushing the moon in front of the sun to cause a solar eclipse.
Well, before you finish that, now I've been questioning the science for a good portion of this movie, but I don't know how you explain a woman going through Earth's atmosphere into space,
She's in space
and surviving like nothing happened.
You can't do it. I can't do it.
Someone explain that one.
I can't.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Dr. Rugboy's got nothing for this
What?
one.
Give me your bullshit science.
I got nothing.
Was it a transference of power from Nuclear Man in a protective thin shield?
I mean, if they didn't give any indication that
What?
could happen,
The
I mean,
Fuck?
what? That's the only thing I could probably say.
So
Lacey is in space.
by forcing a solar eclipse and therefore
Yes.
just causing fucking what has to be so many tidal waves across Earth.
You gotta imagine all coastal cities are now gone. They're done.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
There's tsunamis
everybody's
everywhere.
clock's wrong too.
Yes, the time zones are fucked up.
So this causes Nuclear Man to shut down. And so Superman takes Lacey and he flies her back to Earth. And I guess
she survives re-entry.
she survives re-entry as much as she
Doesn't
did
burn
exiting the atmosphere.
Oh, fuck.
And drops her off, I don't know, wherever.
No, doesn't
I think it's because she's white. That's
And then he
why.
comes back and he gets
He's
Nuclear Man.
impervious.
Yes.
And he flies Nuclear Man back down to Earth. And he drops him in through the smokestack of a nuclear power plant so he falls into the reactor.
Just perfectly right into the hole.
And hyper powers the entire city with him inside the nuclear reactor.
Apparently,
Amazing.
lights that weren't on just get turned on. Like everyone is just
Yeah, it turns on all of
by
the lights in the
themselves.
city.
Yes, these weren't on before. Why is this on now?
And the next day, after Superman, I guess, put the moon back where it belongs.
I hope he put the moon back.
It might even have been the same day. I don't know.
Yeah.
We find out that Perry White has bought back the Daily Planet
Yay.
because of what has to be the least believable thing in this entire movie, and that's the banks siding with the little guy.
What?
Apparently, I don't even remember what the hell the fucking bullshit reasoning was, but Perry claims the bank decided to give him the money to buy out the company and their shares. And so now he owns the Daily Planet again.
This is also kind of like a fake news before fake news. Like there's a theme of integrity in journalism that's going on now. And I was like, wow.
Yep. Which is a whole character arc for Lacey, by the way.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
No,
I never mentioned it because who fucking cares?
It doesn't matter.
Do not make this movie a prophetic movie about the state of America right now.
They tackle that. It's a tough theme about tabloid journalism.
It's real tough. Yeah. They really tackled it in this one.
So Superman gives a second speech about, I don't know, let's just say peace.
Yeah, let's be friends or something. I at this point, the movie has to be over. I'm done with
the last little bit that we have is, Lex and Lenny are driving down a highway in a car from fucking Wacky Races. And Lex is 100% dressed as a cartoon character as the car is just picked up from the road by Superman. And he flies Lenny off to
boarding school or
prison.
something?
Yeah, no,
boarding school.
There's a specific name for it. It's like Boys Town.
It's Superman.
Which is like it's essentially like a juvenile facility for wayward boys.
Oh,
and what I love is because it's one of the moments that I laughed at. I laughed because of just like the fact that they used this take was Superman flies Lenny down to the gate, and once they land, Lenny starts just making like these weird little motions, like he's trying to do the Superman fist while flying thing while on the ground, and I'm just sitting there being like, what the fuck are you doing, John?
Does he say something about the food being good or something? I don't remember. He had a line.
I don't remember, but he talks to the priest. He's like, "No, this boy was under a bad influence. Try to take care of him." And the priest is like, "Okay." And so then Superman flies Lex back to the quarry that he was at, where all of the same prisoners and the same guards are. So I think this movie took place in a matter of a day.
He just left there.
And he drops them off, and everyone in the quarry makes fun of Lex, and they call him Mozart, and they all start whistling at him. And then Superman makes the comment of the Superman informs Lex that he figured out that Nuclear Man was powered by the sun, and that not having the sun would shut him down because he was birthed from the sun.
Brilliant.
And then he tells Lex he'll see him in 20 years and flies away. The end.
Wow. That's a prophecy there. I'm sure you get into the see you in 20 because he does.
Oh, yep. We'll touch on that.
This franchise for almost 20 years. Wow, that was quite a journey, Delhauer. Amazing. Let's take a quick break here.
Oh, yes, please. I need water.
And we will come back and find out what the fuck happened to this movie. It's fascinating right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Carol.
And we're the hosts of Retro Late Fee. We are stuck in 1994.
And we can't get out.
We're watching all the movies and TV shows that you probably remember, I guess. Somehow we're speaking to you through some kind of time portal.
Right.
Join us every week for great movies and TV shows from 25 years ago.
It's fun, I swear.
Do you like Florida Man? Do you like crazy shit? Do you like titties and strip clubs? Why are you laughing?
Because I do. You know I do. This is the show for you. We're the hashtag No Offense Show.
I'm the Duchess.
That's the Duchess. That's my lovely wife. My name is Chris, and we talk about all that stuff in addition to our daily lives as parents, what we're watching on TV, current events, anything that we could try to talk about to make you laugh. Look for us on the web at htnos.com. All the socials at HTNOS, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.
We're available everywhere.
And
All right, gang, before we find out what the fuck happened to Superman 4, we got to shout out, thank a couple of people and peoples who support the podcast, and we love their support. The first one being our sponsor, Manscaped. They make awesome grooming devices. Delhauer.
Yes.
I'm going to throw it to you. How about you turn the people on to our sponsor at Manscaped?
Oh, you want me to turn them on?
Turn them on, Delhauer. Use that Ginger Geek flow.
All right, let's see if this VO thing can actually work out.
Cue the Cinemax music.
Hey there, fellas. It's me, your buddy Matt, and it's 2020. And guess what? Made it hard for us to stay as hygienic as we should be. Luckily, our partners at Manscaped have made it easy to turn your bathroom into your own private dong salon.
Yes!
Manscaped is on a mission to change the grooming game with their below-the-waist grooming and hygiene products, and they just released their products in the UK, Canada, in Australia. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code JOCKANDNERD at manscaped.com. The Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer offers a replaceable ceramic blade with advanced skin-safe technology, which helps reduce grooming accidents. Ooh, ouch. The waterproof technology also allows you to groom in the shower, and for up to 90 minutes. And if you're in the shower grooming for 90 minutes, the fuck, dude, get out. I gotta piss. They also just released their Shearer 2.0 nail kit, which is the perfect add-on to your Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. That's 5.0 of trimming things. The perfect package comes with 2 free gifts and other liquid formulations, okay, that's a thing, to complete your ball trimming routine. These formulations are all vegan. Why are you eating them?
No, you put them on your balls.
You just want to be animal safe.
Yeah.
Cruelty-free, dye-free, sulfate-free, and paraben-free, so you know your disco stick is in good hands. You're probably sitting on the couch or in your car or digging a grave for the guy you killed that you said you wouldn't kill, but you did it anyway. You're touching your balls, aren't you? Yeah, it was exciting. You heard the sounds he made. Well, anyway, you might as well keep them smelling fresh with the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, an anti-chafing ball deodorant designed to defend against below-the-waist odors. When the summer humidity hits, and tell you right now, it is hitting because I'm in a closet. There's no air movement in here, and god damn it, is terrible. Use this to keep my balls from sticking to my legs.
My balls was hot.
They have a Crop Reviver ball toner, and it's a spray-on toner for your testicles. That's all it says. That's all I got
That's
here.
what it is.
I like that it adds some tone. To it.
Tone.
My balls are a little more toned.
I've always wanted
today.
to airbrush my balls, and now you could do it.
My balls have abs.
Oh, shit.
Their Foot Duster deodorant for your feet is so good that it can even reduce the odor of the dirtiest feet. The Hobbit feet, if you will. Basically, all I'm saying is if you love your package, and I know you do because I do too, all you have to do is go to their site, hit a few buttons on your phone or your computer or whatever, type in a little code, it's Jock and Nerd. You can get 20% off and free shipping.
Well done.
I was going to say you didn't have to read all that, but it was so good. I just let you go.
You gave me copy, dude. I ran.
I'm going to cut this and make it. This is the best ad Manscaped's ever going to get. You hear that?
There you go, Imran. Even more fucking free work for you.
That's code JockandNerd at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping. And the other people I want to thank real quick is our Patreon subscribers. Listener, if you love the show, you've been enjoying it, join our fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. You will get a bonus RSS feed with bonus content just for our Patreon peeps. It has movie reviews. The shows come out early. This week, Anthony, you had some Corona binge reports, two good ones.
Yes, I actually binged Cobra Kai, so to make that Corona binge report apropos.
That is a binge.
And then I did an instant reaction, Corona binge report to Tenet. I went and braved seeing a movie in a real movie theater.
How many people in that theater with you?
I rented the whole thing out for myself.
Fantastic.
No, I didn't have to. I paid the price of one ticket and got the whole theater to myself. It was
What
actually
time did you go? What time of day?
5:30 on a Sunday, so not like a peak time at all. But to be quite honest, it was actually very depressing looking at a movie theater and seeing no one there and nobody walking around in the I guess would you call it a concourse? The lobby. It was quite sad.
So that's amazing. For the price of one movie ticket, you can have the whole theater to yourself right now.
Very, very sad.
I'll tell you now, Anthony, it doesn't matter if you didn't buy a ticket for every seat. You paid money and you had the whole theater, you bought it out.
There you go.
Bought out the theater. Also up is part 4 of Rug Boy and myself's old Dumb Songs series, 5-part Patreon-only series. Songs from 25 years ago. Rugs, this week it's We Love 80s Sitcoms.
Oh, yeah.
Which is about songs about how much we love 80s sitcoms. Self-explanatory.
What's your favorite one?
Oh, man. Maybe Perfect Strangers was a good one?
Yeah, Perfect Strangers is great.
Goddamn right.
I still like Three's Company, but even though that's not 80s, that's 70s.
It rolled into the 80s. All those shits.
Yeah.
TGIF. Remember TGIF? Family Matters?
Oh, yeah.
Growing Pains. They're all good. They're all part of my childhood. And we wrote dumb songs about
I just
that.
watched the bowling episode of Perfect Strangers. It's on Hulu now.
Yes, the whole season. My favorite episode of Perfect Strangers is the Bibi Bobka episode where they make
that's
Bibi
a great one.
Bobkas and then they explode.
I like when they're ninjas too.
Yes, when they learn self-defense.
take karate.
Yes, and Valky's a ninja. Oh, that show is still fantastic. Anyways, find all that stuff on our Patreon, jockandnerd.com/Patreon. All right, Delhauer.
The fuck?
Oh, wait, let me do this.
What?
The fuck?
Happened to Superman 4 Quest for Peace.
So I guess the easiest way to go about this is to say, overall, it's Richard Donner's fault.
It is.
No, not
Fuck
really.
that guy. Oh, God.
No, so basically what it boils down to is back in the mid-'70s, the Sulkines, I think is how their name is pronounced.
Yep.
A father and son pair of producers bought the rights to have to do Superman films, as well as the rights to characters that are essentially just connected to Superman. So Lois Lane or Supergirl or Superboy, or as my favorite is Crypto the Wonder Hound, but also I don't think they bought that.
Crypto's great.
And because they wanted to make a Superman movie. And they did in 1978 when they made Superman, the motion picture, directed by Richard Donner. The problem is that they initially decided what they wanted to do was they were going to film 2 Superman movies back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to have it so that the storyline of these 2 movies interconnected with each other, and they would be able to release them like within a matter of a year or 2 from each other, to really kind of capitalize on the idea of Superman movie. The problem is that when they hired Richard Donner was a director who had a vision for what he wanted a Superman movie to be. And the biggest thing that he wanted to push for was no matter what they did, the movie needed to remain true to the spirit and concept of the character himself. And apparently, in order to do that, it caused Richard Donner to balloon the budget of the first movie. And the Sulkines, or whatever their name is, they didn't like that. As the producers of the film, they were very unhappy with the fact that Donner kept pushing for more and more and more and more money to make his Superman movie. And that's because in order to really bring this one-of-a-kind thing to the screen, Donner and the effects company that he was working with, they invented ways to film special effects.
Wow.
For Superman, specifically for like all the flying scenes, in order to give the audience a thing they've never fucking seen before, because he wanted the film to elicit this concept of just awe.
That was the tagline.
And he said, you will believe a man can fly.
That was the
Exactly.
tagline, and it worked.
So these Sulkines, in the midst of production of what would essentially be Superman 2, which Donner was directing, fired his ass.
So,
and they decided to bring in someone who was going to play ball with them. And that was Richard. His name is also Richard.
Richard Lester, right?
Richard Lester, thank you.
But this is such a Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars move right here.
And so they decided, well, we want someone who's going to essentially do what we tell them to do. So they brought in Richard Lester to complete Superman 2. And they also had him just refilm a crap load of it, because that way he could take credit as being the director of the movie. Problem was that a lot of the people who were on those first 2 movies joined the movies because of Donner.
Right.
Margot Kidder and
Gene Hackman.
Thank you, Gene Hackman. Why did I lose his name suddenly? Gene Hackman, Margot Kidder, Jackie Cooper, just everybody wanted to be on the movie because Donner was going to be on it. And when they saw the way that the producers had treated him, and they saw the very big picture money aspect that they were going for in the way of making these films, a lot of them decided we don't ever want to be near this again. And so that is why when Superman 3 came around a few years later, you will see anyone who isn't Chris Reeve left the movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to dive too deep into Superman 3 and all the terrible things that went on with that because, hint, hint, I want that to be an episode down the road.
Yeah.
Because there are some fucking ridiculous stories about Superman 3. So instead, what I'll say is Superman 3 didn't perform so well, and then the Salkines decided they wanted to make Supergirl. And initially what they wanted it to be was a Superman and Supergirl movie, but after Chris Reeve felt that he was really kind of pushed to the side in Superman 3 in favor of just making a Richard Pryor movie, and saw how terribly it was received, he decided, no, I'm not going to do that. And so 2 months before Supergirl went into production, he backed out. So they then had to try and make a Supergirl movie where they made no mention of Superman ever, and tried to use a story that was based around her and Superman working together, just a story where she does her own thing. And it turned into a 2+ hour movie that people hated.
That's another one we got to do. It's
unwatchable.
It's a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It will be another one that we touch on as well.
Didn't know it existed, really.
Yeah.
So we are now in, I'm going to say 1985, I believe. And the Salkines are at Cannes Film Festival, or Cannes Film Festival, if you're a dick about it. And they wind up meeting the two Israeli men who own Cannon Films.
Cannon Films.
And I don't really know the extent of how this conversation went this way, but by the end of these people meeting, Cannon was going to and wound up buying the rights to the Superman franchise.
I think the Salkins just wanted out. They were done. They're like, we don't want to.
It basically it was. So this is now where we have to get into Cannon Films.
Yes.
Cannon Films, for anyone who doesn't know, is a staple of 80s schlock.
A ton of it, too.
If you've ever heard of the movie Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone, that's a Cannon film.
Yes, it is.
Did you ever see any of the sequels to the movie Death Wish? Cannon Films. Anything that ever had Chuck Norris star in it was made by Cannon.
The Rambo, the
Delta
Rambo
Force,
ripoff.
Delta Force, Missing in Action. Anthony, you love that moment where Jean-Claude Van Damme punches that dude in the nuts in Bloodsport.
Yeah,
you got Cannon Films to thank for that moment.
Breaking 2.
They had.
I enjoy Bloodsport a lot.
Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. They made movies with ninjas. And
for everyone who has listened to at least one of the episodes of this podcast, they made the Masters of the Universe film in 1987.
That's right.
Ninjas, breakdancing, and then breakdancing ninjas. This is the movies they were into.
And here's a funny fact.
Yeah.
Masters of the Universe is part of the reason as to why Superman 4 is a dumpster fire.
Oh, really?
Yes.
It is. So, what it wound up being was that over the course of 2 years, 1985 and 1986, Cannon Films produced 61 films.
Jesus Christ. They made so much shit.
And they were at a loss of $90 million because of it.
Wow, not very good at the movie business.
Cannon Films had this whole entire business prospect in which what they would essentially do is they would mock up a fake poster for a movie they wanted to make. And they would then essentially pitch it to foreign distribution companies. And they would get the money from those distribution companies that said they wanted to distribute those movies globally. They would then use the money from those distribution companies to fund production of the movies.
So they were pushing fake movies as they exist, as if they were real. And then would turn around
and then they would use the money that they use the money that they got for selling a movie that doesn't exist to make the movie so it would exist.
That is some amazing fraud. Is that fraud? It's brilliant.
Oh, it's fraud.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
So finally, Cannon Films assumed that by buying the Superman franchise, or at least the rights to Superman, because they didn't own the first 3 movies, they just owned the right to make a Superman 4. They thought this was their first stepping stone into making big budget films that would finally make a profit and save the company. So when they went into production to make Superman 4, they were given $36 million by Warner Brothers in order to fund the project. The trouble is, at this point, they were already feeling pressure from studios that were out in England that they owed a shit ton of money to for filming movies on, including the studio where they were filming Masters of the Universe that shut down production on them because they ran out of money. If you guys go back to our Masters of the Universe episode, you'll hear where we talk about the final battle that takes place in a dark room.
Yeah, that's right. But they snuck in.
Because they filmed on the set
they snuck
when
in.
it was closed. That is because that company banned them from coming onto the studio lot because they owed them money.
That's canon.
So Canon then decided what they would do is they took $19 million from the $36 million budget of Superman 4 and used it to pay off debts that they owed.
Wow.
And to funnel into other projects like Masters of the Universe and a Spider-Man movie that they wanted to make.
This is my love-hate relationship with Canon.
Was that the one James Cameron was going to do?
No, this is before.
It was before that.
This was Tom Cruise and Albert Pune, who did the Captain America movie, I believe.
Oh, Albert Pune, yeah.
So the thing is, these people came up with that first idea to do a live-action Spider-Man movie. That was going to be their next movie after Superman 4.
I remember I saw the poster.
Yes, the poster is legendary. I love that poster.
So they made the poster
of course, like here's the movie.
And they pitched it with a fake poster saying they were going to make the movie. So here's the thing. That means of the $36 million they were given to make Superman 4, they now had $17 million in a budget.
Hey, that's why the Masters of the Universe effects are just like a little bit better than this movie.
So now we're gonna take a step into the time machine, and we're gonna go back a little bit because we're also gonna talk about how in the hell they convinced Christopher Reeve to be in this movie.
Yes,
the best part of the movie.
The best part of the movie, absolutely, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah,
and the reason for that is because when they decided they were going to make this movie, they said the only way it's ever going to actually sell and people are going to see it is if Christopher Reeve returns as Superman.
Has to,
and he didn't want to do it after Superman 3. He decided he was done with the franchise. He wanted to move on to other things. Canon came to him and said, look, here's what we're going to do. We will make you a producer on the film. We will pay you $6 million. And we will fund the passion project film that you've been trying to get off the ground for 5 years now called Street Smart. We'll explain what that is down the road. It doesn't really matter, though. It's actually a pretty good movie. Just people really didn't care to see it because it never got marketed by Canon. And it was the first. Yeah. It was the first major role that Morgan Freeman ever had.
Breakout role by Morgan.
But anyway, Christopher Reeve liked everything he was hearing, but the last thing that he said was, "Okay, but here's what I want to do. I want to have a co-writing credit, and I want this movie to tackle the nuclear arms race as a story plot."
Good intentions. He had good intentions.
So in an interview, Reeve had said that apparently in the years between Superman's 3 and 4, he had actually done work on a documentary that was, I believe it was called, where is it? I have it written somewhere. A Message to Our Parents.
Oh.
The concept of this documentary was that it was created by children who essentially were telling their parents their own fears and anxieties about growing up in the age of nuclear war. So, Chris Reeve, being one of the nicest fucking people who ever lived, and probably one of the closest embodiments to Superman besides, I'm going to say, Brandon Routh.
Yeah.
Was touched by the idea of how terrible this concept is when it comes to seeing it through the eyes of children who are terrified. So he decided, I want this Superman movie to be about how Superman, the most powerful being in the known galaxy, would tackle nuclear armaments. And they said, All right, cool. Yeah, sure. Why not? Go ahead. Go crazy. So, Reeve was the one who then brought in the other two writers on the film. I don't have their names here immediately. Imran, if you do, please chime in.
They are Lawrence Connor and Mark Rosenthal.
Thank you. So that they could all hash out the script that they wanted to write. And apparently, they wrote a fucking long movie. I believe the initial cut of Superman 4 that was created was almost 2.5 hours long.
Wow.
Jeez.
Now, the problem is that while Christopher Reeve was brought in as a producer, apparently a lot of the shady shit that Cannon was doing with the money was shit they were doing behind his back, and he had no idea.
Yeah.
He did not know that they had their budget slashed to $17 million until a month before principal photography started. But because Christopher Reeve had signed on, that is a reason as to why Margot Kidder and Gene Hackman and Jackie Cooper and the guy who plays
Jimmy Olsen
all came back. Because they said, we believe in Chris, we love Chris, he says this movie's going to work out, and also the producers we hated are fucking gone, so we don't need to, protest being here anymore. So after the script was written, they came to a point where they were trying to figure out who they were going to have direct the film. Chris Reeve's first choice was he wanted Ron Howard to direct it. And Cannon said, in this economy?
We can't afford the Ron Howard. Don't be ridiculous.
So they said, well, what about, I don't know, how about this Wes Craven guy? He just made a slasher movie people liked, because that says they should have a Superman movie.
Right.
Can you imagine?
Perfect guy to do it.
So
that's there.
They brought in Wes Craven, and he sat down with Chris Reeve, and apparently from like the first moment they started talking, the two of them did not get along and did not like each other. So Chris finally was like, nope, not fucking working with him. So Craven was out. And then at one point, Chris brought up the idea of like, maybe we could actually get Richard Donner to come back now that it's different producers. But Donner was, number one, in the middle of getting ready to make Lethal Weapon. And number two, decided, nah, I don't care about doing a Superman movie ever again. So, nah, I'm good. So finally, we settled on, why do I keep losing names?
Sidney J. Fury.
Thank you. Thank you for cleaning up my messes.
Wasn't Reeve going to direct it too at one point?
There was a point where Reeve thought about directing it, but he was like, look, producing, directing, and starring in it, I can't handle all that at once. So he decided, no, we'll get somebody else. So they brought in Fury, and he certainly directed it.
He told them what to do.
So the biggest issues that they ran into were the fact that they had they had very little money to begin with, and they were losing money more and more as production went on. At one point, a pair of screenwriters tried to sue Cannon Film and Christopher Reeve, claiming they stole their movie idea for Superman 4. Cannon Film actually won the court case, but the money they used to pay for their legal fees, they took out of the film budget.
Of course they did. They also they lost a suit. The stuntman got hurt and he sued them, and they lost
that. They then had, during one of the stunts that they were performing, a stuntman broke both of his arms and sued the production company.
Guess where that money came out of.
And they didn't go to court. It was a settlement of nearly, I think it was a settlement of a little under $500,000.
Yeah, that's what I read.
That came out of the film budget.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was like $250.
So once they finally got done filming the movie, they then had to rush to get themselves into post-production. But Cannon had promised in advertisements that the movie was going to be coming out in the summer of 1987. They wrapped filming in the spring of 1987.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Now, the problem was that when they first started making the movie, Cannon promised Chris Reeves that he would have 6 months of post-production to work on all of the visual effects in the movie.
Because if you think about it, this is probably the most complex shit they tried to pull off in a Superman movie up until this point.
Absolutely.
You're going to need time and money to put this together.
They gave him a month.
Oh shit.
So that's why we have all the recycled flying scenes.
Yeah.
That's why we have instances where suddenly everyone has telekinesis because they couldn't afford and didn't have the time to create scenes where Superman runs around rebuilding the Great Wall of China. Yeah. And they rush out an edit of the movie for a test audience. This is the edit that was like a bit over 2 hours at this point.
Oh wow, there is a cut.
There was a cut that was a lot longer.
I heard that cut is not better.
A lot of that cut can't be found anymore.
Yeah.
There's some scenes that you can find. There's this one on YouTube that I'll comment on in a moment. But no, it was not better. The test audiences fucking hated it. And Warner Brothers fucking hated it. And they told Cannon, you got to start making edits because this movie is incomprehensible. So
it's worse than the movie that we saw.
Oh boy.
It's that's the thing. I can't even fully say yes or no.
Right.
But what Cannon then got in their head was, well, if we start cutting things out of the movie, we could take this movie and we could trim it down enough that we could get it playing in theaters more per day.
Sure.
And that means we'll make more money.
Cha-ching.
So they took an over 2 hour movie and they cut it down to under 90 minutes.
The fuck?
They cut 45 minutes.
And this is why you have instances where plot lines disappear. Like the whole plot line with selling the Kent farm.
Yeah.
Was supposed to get tied up at the end in which he would sell it to Lacey Warfield. Because she would decide that working in the newspaper business was not for her. She didn't like the sensationalism of it anymore and decided to go live on a farm in Smallville.
There's another cutscene right from the beginning in the classroom with Jeremy when he says we should write Superman. I believe Superman shows up
after he gets the letter
to that same classroom.
After Superman gets the letter from Jeremy saying, "Oh, I want you to get rid of nuclear weapons." He flies to Jeremy's classroom, where they're all in the same clothing because it was filmed the same day.
Yeah,
and basically tells him, "Well, I can't do that. That's not what Superman does."
This is where the headline comes from,
which is why he then has the whole "I wish Superman had said yes."
Yeah,
and that's where the Superman tells kid to drop dead bit came from.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. There's an entire scene which built off of Lacey telling Clark that they should start covering the nightlife of Metropolis, in which they would have gone to a nightclub on a date.
Yeah.
Under the guise of it being work. Here's the other thing. In the original cut, there were 2 nuclear men.
Oh, shit.
What?
Whoa.
Yes, this is great.
There was an entire storyline they cut out of the film in which Lex makes his first version of Nuclear Man, which is basically, instead of the whole thing of throwing him into the sun, it's they kind of do like the easy bake oven thing, and they basically make like a pod person. And this pod person becomes what is essentially like a weird 80s Tim Burton-esque Bizarro.
It's their take
character
on Bizarro Superman, and this guy looks ridiculous. He has a black wig.
It's this
How
weird...
do you see all these pictures?
So I'll put a link in the show notes. This scene is on YouTube. Superman versus Nuclear Man 1. I'll have a link in the show notes. It's a 7-minute scene.
So, and what it basically boils down to is, I'll cover it very quickly, is Nuclear Man 1 goes to attack the nightclub that, I believe it's supposed to be the nightclub that Clark and Lacey are in. And so he goes out as Superman and he fights this first Nuclear Man in the parking lot where they're like trying to crush each other with cars and hit each other with light poles. But it's all very campy and
so
very
bad.
slapstick
Oh my
comedy
God.
in the way it's presented.
This guy is a schlub. He's not like muscular like Mark Pillow. He's this schlubby looking
He's
guy.
wearing this big bulky coat to hide the
Yes.
fact that he doesn't have a physique.
It looks like a Three Stooges short. Yes, this whole scene.
And then in the end of the 7-minute scene, Superman kills this Nuclear Man and that's it. So they decided to get rid of that whole entire concept and just have the one Nuclear Man.
Probably a good idea.
What was
Probably
the?
better.
I don't know if you have the answer to this, but what was the thought process behind having Gene Hackman voice Nuclear Man?
It was essentially that they didn't think Mark Pillow, the Chippensdale's dancer, was a good enough actor. And so they dubbed his lines over because they felt, oh, well, that could also fit into the story. But Mark Pillow, years later, went on record in an interview saying, well, the reason that my delivery is so stilted is because they were doing it on set. They had Gene Hackman reading the lines.
That's how they recorded
and they had Mark Pillow fucking mouthing them along with them.
Wow, that is really low budget. Also, Mark Pillow has not been in anything else. Also, originally they were going to have Christopher Reeve play Nuclear Man.
Well, now that's as far as we know, that is a rumor that has gone around. No one has ever confirmed that was the plan.
That's what I read, but it was too similar to Superman 3.
They said because they already did that in Superman 3,
it would have cost too much money.
It's just retreading old territory, despite the fact of how much of this movie is them retreading old territory.
Like, why wouldn't they have Reeve dub over Nuclear Man?
They just should have had him not talk.
Yes, why are you even talking Nuclear
I
Man?
agree with that. Here's the other funny thing. Apparently, in some of the European home video releases, there's a scene in which during the whole like chasing Nuclear Man around the world, he lands in Smallville and starts a tornado.
Okay.
And Superman has to stop this tornado.
Whoa.
That is just not in the movie at all now.
That's like Man of Steel.
Exists in some versions of the movie.
That is weird.
So yeah, and it's all like random shit like that. Now, apparently, around the same time, DC did in fact make a comic book adaptation of the movie that puts a lot of the missing plot lines and story connections back into the story. So it actually is coherent.
Wow.
Oh, I want to try and check that out. Maybe.
Yeah, I that was the thing is I found out that apparently there are comic adaptations of 3 and 4, and 4, it's like, oh yeah, it adds a whole lot more in. And 3, it's like, oh, it takes a lot out because there's a whole lot of alcohol use in that movie, and they're not allowed to have that in comics in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so the premiere of Superman 4 was held in London, and the royal family attended.
Ooh.
Whoa.
And so did Mark Pillow in his Nuclear Man costume.
Yes, he did.
What?
There is a picture of Mark Pillow dressed as Nuclear Man having a conversation with Princess Diana.
I've seen that photo. It's bizarre. While everyone else is in suit and tie, he decided
he's the only one in costume.
I'm going to come in costume. Why not?
Well, no, and that's the thing is, what I had to wonder is, I wonder if the fucking production company told him to do it.
They probably did.
It was like, oh, it's going to be such a fun little stunt to have, Nuclear Man is at the movie. But it's like, yeah, but Christopher Reeve's over here in a fucking tuxedo.
He looks ridiculous.
The movie comes out. It doesn't do well. It is beaten on its opening weekend in the box office by RoboCop, which is now in its second week of being in the theater, as well as a re-release of Disney's Snow White.
Wow. That was like the 50th anniversary of Snow White.
This movie can't hold a candle to RoboCop.
No, RoboCop's way better.
No,
yes.
not at all.
Oh, RoboCop? This is blasphemous to even compare these fucking two.
It's competing against RoboCop.
You'd have to have Superman just shoot at least 10 people in the dicks to even start getting near it.
We'd need more blood. Yes.
Yeah.
But so the fun aspect of that is a little over a year after this movie comes out, Canon Films is investigated for fraud.
Oh shit.
They decide to sell their film catalog to Warner Brothers, and eventually the company is bought out before the end of the 80s.
It's done. Thank God they didn't make that Spider-Man movie, although would have been great to see one, but I'm glad that it never happened.
What if that was the one that put them on the map?
That could have been the one that made him the money.
It absolutely could have been.
Tom Cruise as Peter Parker? Come on, I would have killed.
Oh, shit. I mean, Imran, you would have loved it regardless.
I would have fucking loved it.
But yeah, so that's about what I have. It was a whole lot of shady bullshit from the company that decided to make it that ultimately made it that the movie never stood a chance from the word go.
Or Christopher Reeve, I feel so bad for him because he comes in with good intentions. He wants to revive this franchise, and at the end, he admits, like, this is a fucking train wreck.
I just think that the fact that he got the whole gang back together.
Yeah, because of him.
And just in the shittiest movie possible.
I have a quick review on it.
Yeah.
Quick couple sentences.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned prior to this, I went into this movie thinking I'm going to watch the worst movie of all time.
Yeah.
So, yes, it can only go up from there.
Yes.
I have to fully acknowledge, it'd be facetious to not, this is a really fucking bad movie.
Well, of course.
I mean, like, all jokes aside, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It's a terrible movie.
Yeah.
It's poorly made. It's a lot of poor acting. There's poor dialogue. It's poorly edited. It's cheesy. There's nothing good about this movie. It's really fucking boring at times.
Yeah.
But that being said, Christopher Reeve is still really good in it.
Yeah.
And it is one of those movies, and I hate saying this about a movie, but it is one of those movies where it's so bad that it's good.
I was gonna say this is a kind of a fun watch.
Yeah.
With all that said,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's so bad that it's there's some redeemability in it. I mean, my score, I would give it a very, very low score if we end up doing that.
Yeah.
But as far as like watching it, there's some times where you're like, so bad it's good. I like it.
It is.
Well, the movie was nowhere near as bad as I feared from everything that I had heard.
Okay.
I mean, in all honesty, I would say it's disjointed.
Yeah.
It's very cheap. It's fairly nonsensical.
Yeah.
And it's utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I didn't walk away from the movie feeling like I can't fucking believe I had to sit through this.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that was pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah, you're like, I can't believe I'm watching this.
You have the magic, right? You got the magic of
Reeves,
Margot Kidder, and Reeves, and you got all of that stuff like that's still there. It feel like the music, the soundtrack's still there, like all that's there. So it's like it makes you feel like a better movie than it is.
It's funny. Kidder and Reeve never really got along. They had a very contentious relationship. The whole Richard Donner thing rubbed her the wrong way, but they always had kind of a rocky friendship.
When you're a kid and you watch this movie and you know it sucks, but you still like it's still a Superman movie, and even though it's like the worst one, it's still like I remember had it not been for Superman 3, which I hated because I'm like, there was nobody back from the original cast.
Superman sidelined kind of the whole time.
Yeah, he's not really in the movie a lot, and it's like kind of like a bad, evil Superman, not even a real bad guy.
Right.
This was better to me than Superman 3.
Wow.
And that's why when I was telling you guys was that once I got diving into everything, my thought was, man, we should have done Superman 3 because I feel like this movie is a misfire because it was never given a chance.
Yeah.
Superman it had the legs cut out from underneath.
From the get-go.
Superman 3 was a movie that had every opportunity to be a worthwhile follow-up, and it just fucking squandered it.
Yeah.
Well, Imran likes it.
Well, that's only because I was a kid.
That's like when a Marvel movie's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they have,
yeah.
They have everything at their disposal, and they still can't make a good movie.
Oh, the thing that I didn't touch on, Imran.
Yeah.
So the town that they filmed most of this movie
let's talk about the town, because some of this is hilarious.
Is named Milton Keynes.
Milton Keynes, UK.
In the English countryside. And one of my favorite things about this is, so the movie was filmed in mostly just two spots, locations in Milton Keynes or filmed at Elstree Studios in England, which is where they did a whole lot of their soundstage stuff. But my favorite little bit is that there is one like building complex in Milton Keynes that specifically played, I think, like 6 locations in this movie.
All those buildings you see are in the same fucking like open courtyard area. My favorite is I love how they just thought like just put random fire hydrants out and it'll look like New York. There's random fire hydrants just in the middle of the road everywhere, in the middle of the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah. So the Avebury Boulevard building in Milton Keynes is a complex that stood in for the Daily Planet.
Yep.
The Metropolis Museum.
Yep.
The Metropolis Hyatt Hotel.
Yeah, it's the same place.
And the gym that they went on their date in are all in the same fucking building.
So check this out, what I found. I will put this link in the show notes. Apparently, the people of Milton Keynes, they fucking love this movie.
Oh, shit.
This was all those extras you see. These were all British people who were suddenly standing there with Christopher Reeve Superman just in awe. So in the 30-year anniversary in 2016, the people from Milton Keynes recreated all the shots from the movie, and there's a video where you could see both. You see the movie and you see them recreating the movie in the same buildings 30 years later. I don't know why. Somebody had a lot of time on their hands to do this, but
it's one of those things of the moment that you find out, like, oh man, like if they told me, like, dude, did you know that they filmed like the fucking Spider-Man movie in your hometown?
Yes.
I'd be like, oh shit, really?
It's all built in Keys. That's why there's no fucking tall buildings. They could have added matte paintings. I don't even think they had money to do that.
That was the plan. The plan was that they were going to throw a bunch of matte paintings in there to make the one-story buildings look like skyscrapers, and then they didn't because they didn't have the money, they didn't have the time.
And it's like a town in the middle of a farm, and just suddenly all the buildings are gone. Milton Keynes is hilarious. The other two little bits I found I want to mention. Nuclear Man actually shows up in the comics in 2018. Brian Michael Bendis and Ivan Rice bring him to Prime Earth, debuting in
that's cute.
Superman Volume 5.
Of course, fucking Bendis would.
Bendis did it, yeah. So Nuclear Man was actually introduced in DC canon. And then finally, Delhauer, you mentioned this before we were recording, but we got to mention there's an amazing documentary about canon groups called Electric Boogaloo, the wild, untold story of canon films from 2014. It's on Amazon. Highly recommend you watch that.
Definitely check that out.
It explains a lot of this.
Mansplains?
It mansplains a lot
sure
of this.
hope.
But
there's a lot of men in
on
it
one hand, I
explaining
feel like if it wasn't for Canon Group trying to make a Spider-Man movie, we never would have got a live-action Spider-Man movie. Maybe. I feel like the idea started there. They were first to that idea.
Really?
Probably
Imran, I'm
going
to go on record and say
I'm wrong.
think you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have happened anyways. But
I love that Imran can find the silver lining in everything.
This is the Canon Group. It's like a love-hate relationship.
Overcredit something.
Because they've made some of the best, worst movies that you're ever going to watch. And just the way they operated is fucking fascinating. But all right, good stuff, Delhauer. Anything else? Any other final notes? I think we covered it all.
I'm going to give it a rating.
Give it a rating.
It's a 2 out of 10.
Oh, shit.
If I'm going to be very honest.
I'm going to give it a 3.
I think I'll give it a 3 too.
Delhauer?
No, I'm going to go with Anthony and give it a 2.
2? All right.
The only reason I didn't give it the lowest score, which would be 1, is because Christopher Reeve and just the watchability of it.
Well, yes, I think my 2 was Christopher Reeve is always fun to watch.
He's great.
And I really, really loved all the moments where Mark Pillow was just going,
Bring me the girl. So I don't think Superman 3 can be worse than this movie. It did have that crazy robot lady that he fought with the wires that was made in the computer.
We'll find out one day soon.
Superman 3
Imran's already defending it because I know he's been on record as saying, Superman 3 is awesome. What are you talking about?
It's not a good movie, but I love it. That's all I'm saying. It's not good, but it introduced me to Richard Pryor at a very young age.
I was going to say, that's fine. I'm still an apologist for the Super Mario Brothers movie forever.
Oh, God.
It's fucking trash, but I love that movie.
They're trying to make a new one. I hope. That
was a strange fucking movie.
Yeah, that one made no sense.
I don't think I've seen the whole that one either.
I don't think I've seen that one all the way through. Anyways, Delhauer.
That's one where you got to go digging to find that fucking movie now.
Thank you for your services. Again, listener, if you go to jockandnerd.com/whatthefuckhappened, you will find all the What the Fuck Happens. But Delhauer, tell them where they can find you online.
Fantastic. Well, funny enough, listener, for the longest time, almost 5 years now, I've been directing you to my personal Twitter page. But here is the thing. I am actually, now that I'm branching out more into, voiceover and voice acting, I have kind of converted that over into being my voiceover voice acting Twitter page, which now has a stage name. So if you're following Matt Decker VA, thanks for the follow. If you want to be following me and dealing with anything that has to deal with podcasting, such as Jock and Nerd or my podcast, or if I ever show up on Voice from the Underground again, I would suggest you check out, I believe I have actually changed the name on it now, but at Ginger Geek Cast on Twitter.
Right
on. Which is where I'm going to be doing all of my podcasting stuff that I still use my actual name for. Because I've been using my real name on here for 5 years, I'm not going to ask everyone to start calling me by a fake fucking name.
Wait, why is that necessary for your voiceover career?
So for VO, it's kind of a business decision. Number one, it's because when I meet people who I've never met before, Delhauer is a difficult name to either pronounce when you haven't heard it before, or spell when you're trying to spell it out.
Yeah.
So I figured use a name that's a little easier. I feel like Decker has a little nice just kind of roll to it.
Get me Decker.
Kind of, yeah.
I love it.
And away from that, it also gives me the ability to just kind of separate, work from personal life.
Boss, we're missing a VO spot. Get me Decker. Dun, dun, dun. You can have a whole TV show.
Oh, absolutely.
Decker VO coming to HBO Max now plus.
Nothing but titties.
Nothing but titties.
I like that.
These titties need voices. Get me Decker. All right, Matt Decker. I like it. Ruggs, where can the listener find you online?
You can find me on Twitter where I use my real name, Rugberto Bambino.
The Bambino.
At Really Rug Boy.
Listener, you can find the show notes for this episode at our website, jockandnerd.com/347. It'll have all the links to Delhauer, all the other What the Fuck Happens, everything we talked about, yada, yada. You know the deal. Thanks for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll catch you next time.
The fuck? I fucking loved it.
It stinks. It stinks. It stinks. Get the fuck out.
Jock and Nerd.
Betrayed. 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 Then we go to the next scene.